Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, to the Ethlete Championship Series. Here for, the ground is shaking. I feel the rumble. Our new event coming at you. 5 fights on the day. Some amazing fight cards. My name is Llama77. I'll be one of the people calling the fights, but that handsome man over there is the other one. Your boy Q, how you doing today?
Yo, what it do, man? It's Sunday. We've had an awesome weekend here. What better way to wind things down than a little bit of Undisputed action? You mentioned our new show, man. Gonna be doing this a little bit more often instead of always having like tournaments and stuff like we've had for our previous events. Now we kind of get more of that like almost like WWE like weekly show feel. And we're gonna have some titles on the line. We got some new debuts as far as for fighters for their first time on the show. Should be a lot of fun, man.
We are going to have a lot of fun. Like you mentioned, we got 3 of those fights that are going to be that kind of climb the ladder type fights to try and get themselves or maybe those championship positions later on down the line. And then we've got 2 championship belt holders already trying to defend their title. So 5 fights, like we said, it is going to be an absolute packed day of action. And your boy Q, it's gonna be awesome.
Going to be a banger. I'm here for it. I hope y'all are as ready as I am. And not just that, man. We're back for the first time where, well, I don't know if you know this, man. We're officially affiliates, man. People can now officially be able to support, not only be able to kind of help out as far as the sub, but you get some cool emotes to go with it too, man. You get the belts, you've got the GGs, the KOs, you got some stuff to be able to hype it up in the chat. So, obviously, if you want to help support the channel, y'all already know what to do, man. I gotta say, looking at kind of some of the changes between last event and this one, including those emotes and things, really cool to see. But you talked about the schedule here, Llama. 5 fights today, ending with 2 championships fights. Should be a banger.
It is going to be an absolute packed schedule like we talked about. For those first 3 fights, we'll be playing towards that 10 rounds, not the full 12 rounds, but those final championships, US and EU, as Ghetto, IP, and Magic try and defend their belts. Could go all the way to 12 and maybe even to 18. I know we love some overtime, some extra rounds in the previous fight bouts, but man, I would love some here today as well.
I know you always love to see the bonus boxing. I'm down for it as well, but as much as I'm always down to see some extra rounds, you know me, man, I love to see people coming out swinging for the fences. I'm hoping we're gonna have plenty of opportunities to use that KO emote here today. But you mentioned 2 belts on the line at the end of the day. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man. Being able to have the strap, have the extra bragging rights as well. Man, I cannot wait.
I cannot wait either, and of course with all these fights just going one after another, it is going to be some exciting action. But again, like you said, celebrating that we are affiliate, make sure not only do you get those fantastic emotes you were talking about, but also you'll be up on the website, you'll be in the Discord, the Hall of Fame of supporters to help keep on supporting this grassroots scene, and maybe even some sub badges in the future.
And maybe some sub badges or maybe even some bid badges as well. I already see Hugs dealers up here throwing plenty of love around before things are even getting started. We appreciate you for that, man. But Llama, we've got 5 fights on the line here today. Is there anyone in particular, I'm curious, that you've got your eyes set on?
Man, it's tough to not look at the championships and say, man, these are fighters we've seen before, especially a Magic versus Gangstology matchup. Gangstology had to take that break last time and wasn't able to make the last event, but these are 2 fighters that are very, very consistent, very good at what they do, and have fought a lot before.
They've fought a lot before, and you mentioned it. We've got the 2 title fights. I think the one that I'm looking most forward to, even though they are like co-main events, we don't want to say that there's one more important other than the other, but knowing about a little bit of what we've got in the background heading into fight number 5 should be a chess match there when you talk about Ghetto IP, Boxer Tricks. So I think those are the 2 that I'm most excited for. But when you look at the card all the way around, I mean, there's really so much to be pumped for. I mean, I know both of these guys, as far as our opening bout, maybe first time on the stream, but they have been around the scene for a little bit, get to show their face, maybe make a name for themselves. Should be fun.
And it's kind of going back towards like our first event where both of us were meeting all these new contenders, meeting all these great fighters. It's great to see these new contenders come on in. We get to see the different skill sets, we get to see the different players, and we get to see maybe some championship contenders, like we said, climbing that ladder. And the most important thing, like we said, earning some practice for themselves.
I think especially if you are maybe newer to the game or somebody who's trying to get to, maybe you're wanting to get more involved in the community, which by the way, if you're wanting to get involved in the community, we got sparring going on in the Discord all the time. Make sure you're jumping on down in there, as well as obviously you can also get a little more into the community, maybe even get involved in one of these events in the future. But I've been hearing some rumblings, no pun intended, as far as for in this first fight, when we look over as far as at Johnny, a lot of people are saying the best movement in the game. So maybe some notes to take as far as for this first fight.
That's pretty interesting because we've had some really good fighters pass it through the championship series here. So I think the fights, especially these being only towards that R10 as a possibility, make them even more exciting. You don't necessarily have those backgrounds to catch up on the fight card, and especially that round 9 fight card is going to be so important because you don't have the time to adapt. Round 10 is just going to be a crazy frenzy if we get there.
Yeah, you only have the one last round. Essentially that third scorecard, if it's outside of a point or two, you know, you got to swing for the fences. I feel like for the most part, though, we've been seeing some very, very close fights, at least as of late. I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing as much of the heavyweights as we saw last time around. We got to see a lot of the big boys as far as in our last event. Not sure if we're going to be seeing quite that much here today, which does lead me to wonder, is it more like some of our past events, Lumber, where we see maybe a little bit of every weight division?
Oh, it'd be awesome if we get that, all the separations, because as much as I know you and I love the heavyweights, we love them slinging the haymakers at each other, it's kind of interesting to see all these different niches. And you have to remember as well, for those championship fights, the championship defender gets to pick that weight class. So maybe they have a specific weight class that they're really good in that nobody else is practicing. It can be their niche and they can hold on to their title.
We'll have to wait and kind of see, but let's look forward back again one more time. Let's do one more quick pivot here, Llama, before we get ready to head to the rings for fight number 1. We've got Kaito Yuke. We've got Johnny out here as well. It's our opening fight. I want some predictions, Llama. How long is this thing going, and who you think's taking it?
I think I'm always predicting we're going extra rounds.
That's because you want the extra rounds. But how far do you think it's going
into existence? Okay, we're going 16 rounds. No, we're going 24. No, we're going 32. No, we're going 30. No, we're going. Okay, we'll go 16 rounds. How about that?
16 rounds. All right. So you told me we're going an extra set. Who's taking this? Is it Kaito Yuke, or is it going to be Johnny?
I mean, just looking at what the players said about Johnny, it's hard to say the best movement in all of the scene, man. It's hard to not bet on that. But again, as much as I think Johnny might have the player vote, it's really hard. I'm going to sit on the fence again. I haven't seen either of these two fight. I just want a good match.
I am all for it, but we are ready for the ring walk here, Llama. Get excited, man. It's no more time to talk about it. It's time to be about it here. We've got our fighters doing the strut, doing that thing, and we're about to get down to it. 10 rounds of undisputed action.
10 rounds here, and maybe some more if we can get that title scorecard, but we'll have to see if it gets down to it. I think this is important for both these fighters as well. They're kind of setting the tone for the day overall. What a venue they're going to get to pick. They're going to have a lot of crowd there, a lot of crowd out in the Twitch chat to be able to root them on. But, you know, if you get a knockout here, you get to start off the day, and we're also looking out for that fight of the night. Be wary of that too.
True, there's always a fight of the night, man. You got to make sure you award the fighters who put on the best show, and of course that's what we do over here at ECS. And you know, we are breaking out one of the lighter classes here. Makes me wonder if that might just turn things a little bit more in favor over on the side of Johnny. Again, knowing that Johnny is known for the way that they can really establish a pace and be able to move about the ring, being able to do a good job of keeping that distance here as well. You wonder if that just might play to their advantage.
It Distance is huge. We've seen that reach advantage played well, but again, it's going to come down to footwork and finding out the chess match. And here we go. First opening fight of the night. And we are getting right down on into it. Already a headshot connection. And I like how both are kind of sizing each other up, testing what's going to hit, and seeing if they can play this chess match and already take some pieces.
These first couple of rounds, of course, going to be more about just trying to feel each other out. Some big swings coming in, though, from Sergio Martinez. Landed some nice shots here as well. We can see the damage across the face. This might be an opening knockdown within the first minute. Not going to be able to establish a body down onto the ground. There it is, and it's going to be within the opening minute, Llama.
The first minute passes and the first man falls to the ground. Should be relatively easy to get back up on this one, but to start out the fight, the footwork has been really good. And not only that, you talk about just the headshot after headshot after headshot has been there. Donny is able to get a really good connection to start things out. Now it's about working from behind and seeing if you can bring back that point tally.
You got to find some way to slowly pull things back. I mean, yeah, the first knockdown you got to fight up against, but it's still a long fight from here. You just got to make sure you can continue to stay on your feet. I do got to worry, though. It seems like at times allowing a little bit too much room to be closed, and it has allowed for the side of Sergio Martinez to really punish.
Yeah. Got to find those ways to punish and got to keep extraditing every single shot you can, because it feels like, again, the body damage has been there. We've seen as well that has been punishing the block when that Carto has been just holding that block up for way too long. You see Donny able to get in there and put in the damage. 10 seconds left to go in our opening fight, opening round here in round number 1. After that first drop, a little bit of flurry back, and this is the fight we wanted to see. Just because you were knocked down, you got back up.
Oh, we can see the damage across the face. This might be an opening of that round. Well, maybe not full 2 minutes. It obviously took a second to kind of get back into things, but I felt like Ghetto did a really good job of kind of stepping on back in and having a nice little flow to things. But I do feel, obviously, with the knockdown, still obviously that last round has to be in favor of Johnny, and Johnny coming out here early in round number 2 and landing some shots as well.
And some shots, starting things off, and we said it's not just about setting the tone in the day, but setting the tone in the fight. Now that you're ahead, you can play with confidence, you can play with that footwork, and you're going for the body damage here. Another body is the try, and a little bit of backup, trying to use that reach like we talked about for both of these, and relatively the same height, relatively the same, like you were talking about, extra pressure there towards the end, but these early round shots, and it is down to the mat off of the left-hander.
Oh, the left hand was just able to find a spot right across the front of the face. Bang, just like that. And Ghetto finding themselves onto the mat. They are able to find themselves back up onto their feet here, so back into the ring with a whole half of a round left. Remember, last time around, Ghetto was able to stay up on their feet after the first knockdown, but of course that does start to compound down. A second knockdown might make it a little bit easier. Oh, nice sidestep and a couple of shots as well coming in from Johnny.
I mean, the community was right, man. The footwork is just so beautiful right now for Johnny, being able to dip and dodge. You talk about that previous knockdown caused because of that footwork, and for right now, Ghetto not really able to find their stride just yet, trying to get this trap in the corner, but especially when you're in the corner, need to be able to punish, need to connect on some of those shots. It just feels like right now, that was a good one there. Johnny has been relatively safe on that defensive side, switching up those blocks, getting the movement of the feet, and with 10 seconds left to go, it's back-to-back knockdown rounds. Johnny definitely going to be leading.
Johnny's definitely going to be leading, but kind of in a similar fashion. Maybe not as much control. I would say that it felt like Johnny had more control in the back half of this round compared to round number 1. But even after a relatively early knockdown that put Ghetto down onto the mat, they came back and still were able to at least keep themselves in and get themselves a couple of tags. At least don't allow that lead to extend too far. But here in round number 3, they are going to need to step up the pace if they don't want to be too far behind at our first look at that scorecard.
Yeah, we will get to see that scorecard, as you were mentioning, after the end of this third round. And man, it has been two different tales of the story. You talked about Ghetto has been able to really start to get the progression going, the combos going in the later stages of rounds, but the early stages have been all Johnny. Back-to-back knockdown rounds and looking for even more, using the slip really well just to be able to dodge some of these big hits and punish the body.
I was about to say that Ghetto had Johnny back into the corner, was a chance to maybe be able to strike, but Ghetto gets the slip, and then this time around turns things around in another knockdown here in the opening half of the round.
It's going to be 3 rounds in a row with a knockdown here. Gets up to the 7 count, but gets back up to their feet. So scoreboard definitely going to be looking Johnny's way, but at this point you do have to be a little bit concerned, Q, about the possible stamina bar going through, but it's already back towards that day stay, back into the blocking and trying to get out and away, but there goes the mouth guard and down to a knee.
Yeah, I was going to say, it already was sitting back enough that Johnny really needed to be able to push the tempo and was able to do just that. Should be able to recover from one more knockdown here, but you can see it has gotten tougher and tougher to recover with each one of these knockdowns, and that's now 4 in the opening 3 rounds. The next one, especially if it comes across the next 20 seconds, that could be wraps.
Could definitely be, and it might just be here. Another left hand connector falling down to the knee. Will get that automatic count back up. Again, has very limited use of this, but we'll get the 8 count and we'll automatically get back on the feet. But Q, this is starting to look like Johnny just with the absolute footwork to demolish.
Going to be saved by the bell here, so we are going to get a glance at the scorecard, but we're going to see there on the replay before taking the knee was, I mean, on the verge of taking a nap one last time. And Llama, that has to be the biggest gap in a scorecard that we've seen after 3 rounds.
Oh, yeah. I mean, an absolutely massive gap. And for Johnny, like we said, a little bit of concerns of the stamina bar really putting in the combos here. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. We just saw the bars. It's probably a 1 more knockdown, and that could be the end of the fight. I will say, though, for Ghetto, not over until it's over. Not over until that bell dings you out. So keep this offensive pressure up and see what you can get done. The damage has already been done to both your body and your head, so you're going to have to make some special plays if you want to come back.
I mean, at this point for Ghetto, you have to play the perfect couple of rounds here because you have to string together a couple of knockdowns, and the knockdowns on far as putting you down the mat are going to come quite a bit easier. Another barrage of shots coming across from Johnny, and then Johnny backs away, builds some space, allows for that little bit of recovery, and then pushes the tempo again.
Push up that tempo, get the extra shots that you can here, but right now, Johnny really comfortable pushed up against the ropes, knowing that they have this space to dip and dodge their movement that everybody has been complimenting so much. Headed here into the final 60 seconds, that again, left hook to the body. It's connected on the head before, but it's just the switch-ups that Johnny keeps on bringing.
Some switch-ups that Johnny's been bringing, and that's also the movement that's been so smooth. I mean, it's been like butter. Put him in some positions to really be able to punish a couple of opportunities where Ghetto has overextended trying to go for some big plays, especially the later it gets in this fight, because Ghetto really at this stage, that's what they need. They have to find some big surprise to turn things around. I don't think we're going to be seeing it here in the closing seconds of round number 4, but it is going to be the first round that Ghetto has not found themselves on the mat for any sort of account, so that's at least a positive on that side of the ring.
It's a positive that they don't get to taste the mat this round. However, like we said, tasting a little bit of that behind the scoreboard action, realizing they're gonna have to push the gas, they're gonna have to make some really special plays happen, and at this point, you're looking for a flash knockdown, a flash KO, even if you're trying to think about it. But it just feels like, again, so much movement, and the slips are perfect and comfortable even on the defense here for Johnny. Doesn't care when they're put in a corner.
Johnny just seems comfortable anywhere on the ring, and I think part of that is just because they know they've got the footwork to be able to put themselves anywhere else in the ring that they want to be at that time. Nice 1-2 piece coming across from Ghetto, but again, they're going to need more than just a 1 or 2 here and there. They've really got to send a barrage of shots over across the way at Johnny, and they've got to start hitting some of the big haymakers soon.
Got to try and hit something big. And the hooks, we talk about the haymakers. Every one of them has been connecting for Johnny. You talk about the body shots. You talk about the couple that have connected to the head. And as soon as I say it, right back into that power point. The dodge and the left hook. Johnny just keeps on using it. Keeps on putting the pressure in. And you know what we say, Q? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, you know what, man? Definitely, if it ain't broke, just keep on working it, baby. And that's what Johnny is trying to do. Ghetto doing a pretty good job of upping the pace, though, here in round number 5. It's now been 5+ minutes of not finding any time on the mat since we saw them take that knee there at the end of round number 3. I do still feel like this round favors Johnny a little bit on the scorecard, and this will now officially put us over that halfway mark once we go to our corners here in 30 seconds. But for Ghetto, it does still feel like slowly turning things around.
Slowly getting some sort of offense. However, I mean, the body damage over time is going to be tough to recover from. Even the head damage over time from those earlier knockdowns. But with 5 seconds left to go, like you said, approaching this halfway marker, the bell will finally ding with a couple of final shots flying. It is important to note we won't get to see that scorecard until after round number 6, but man, that left hook, every single one of these replays is that left hook.
Yeah, the left hook's been putting in plenty of work there, and I think part of it is just it gets left open so easily over on the side of Ghetto. We've seen a couple of times where the hand comes down literally at just the most inopportune time as the left hand does come across as well. So part of it really has been Johnny picking their moments to be able to strike and doing so well. We did see Ghetto also be able to return a couple of left hands in their own right, but every time they seem to get any sort of momentum going, it's Johnny that shuts it down.
Absolutely crushing that momentum. The head damage is almost to the point of concern here for Ghetto. Will back up and try and get to safety while, again, Johnny just says, I don't care. Come at me. Come in with the attack. So be able to dodge you with the movement and, again, play so comfortably, like you mentioned, on anywhere in the ring. Every single part of the body damage, the block, the head, the body. What do you even do if you are Ghetto?
I mean, if you're Ghetto, you just get, hopefully, maybe you get a little bit of that Rocky Balboa feeling going, and you just get angry, bro. And you start coming out, and you throw in those punches a little harder, landing a couple of more of those things, because honestly, at this point, that's what's going to take. I mean, Johnny really fighting, and a great strategy here. I mean, doing a great job of sliding out from the corner, returns a couple of shots there, and then gets this thing right back to the middle. Now an opportunity to try and put Ghetto down on the mat, but it's a knee to at least buy him a couple of seconds.
The last knee that Ghetto can take here in this fight. One more, and it is an auto knockout here. So to save themselves from it, will use that final bit of resource they have in the tank, and it's going to be an extra little bit of pointage on the board for Johnny. How can you end off this round in round number 6 before we get to see that fight card? That's how you end it.
Back away!
A left hook right into it and takes him down again.
Took the knee last time for a reason. Knew it was going to be hard to recover. Look how tough it is to try and find a way up off your feet. 8, 9, that's it. Wait,
no.
Did he make it in time? He made it just in time.
Got it.
Wow.
In the nick of time, gets it done. The 9-second counter doesn't send him out, but what is it? Q, can you guess what was on the instant replay?
Oh, man, my heart can't take it, man. I mean, as close gets, and the scorecard not nearly as close as that 9 count was, but we do see, remember, it was an 8-point lead, I believe it was, after the first 3 rounds. I mean, technically, Ghetto has closed that gap a little bit in the sense of only surrendering a point in the following 3, but now with the fact that another big knockdown coming across, and the fact that you got saved at the final hour, if you're Ghetto, you cannot afford another knockdown, but you need to find some way to light things up, and this might be the final blow.
This could be it. In towards the day state, trying to put the blockers up as Johnny goes on the offense. Down to half the days bar, and the recovery is actually there from Ghetto. Really good job to escape out of that danger. However, like you were talking about, it's not just a scorecard. You have to worry about one more knockdown could do you in.
One more knockdown can do you in, and you still have yet to even get one over on the other side. Johnny hasn't taken any sort of time on their bat, on the mat, and that's going to be what's required. I mean, at this point, with this round and then 3 more left, it's going to be a KO or nothing if you're Ghetto.
It'll be KO or nothing. We'll have to see if the stamina problems do start to arise in the later rounds, because again, it has been Johnny going forward and using a lot of that attack to be able to counter on back those slips as well. But guess what? Left hook right to the jaw, and down you go again.
That has to be it, right? We saw how hard it was to recover last time around, and look how small those bars are. Maybe, possibly. Oh, that's so close.
Inches, just inches away. 1 more millisecond inside the bars would have done it, but it is the KO. Johnny Boy piloting the Sergio Martinez will be victorious in our opening bout.
Hey, we get to see ourselves a KO. Unfortunate for Ghetto, but they fought themselves quite the fight, especially for finding themselves on the mat a lot relatively early. Even being able to take away those last 2 rounds as well. I mean, looked like was starting to turn the bout, but man, those last couple of knockdowns over on the side of Johnny are what able to help bring things home. And Llama, if that is just a taste of things to come here for Rumble, sign me up, baby.
Oh man, sign me up for some more. And I'd like to target your eyes towards the hook percentage, by the way. 81% connection there from Johnny in that game. And it really did feel like every single one of them were connecting, but it was because of that movement that everybody was talking about. Everybody was saying this is one of the best movement fighters in all of the sport. And boy, did Johnny show it.
Oh, Johnny put on a clinic, and multiple times doing a good job using the slip, being able to readjust themselves and then put themselves in position to punish Ghetto. And it was time and time again the combination of big swings and great positioning that was really what allowed them to be so successful.
The success was found in the early rounds, and it did kind of feel like for Ghetto, you were talking about the later rounds, the start of the bounce back, those back-to-back actual round wins. It felt like things were going good, but the hole had just been dug too big. And you can see a scenario where if Johnny isn't that far ahead, maybe the stamina bar, maybe they gas out a little bit later into those rounds. But it was both panic up here in the booth for Ghetto and Ghetto panicking themselves that they had to get themselves back in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, I was panicking a little bit for Ghetto, but you know what else I was panicking for, Llama? We got ourselves a hype train, baby. Let's get excited. We appreciate all the love and support, man. Been seeing plenty of subs coming across. Cash with the 5 gifties. We also, I think I saw 3 gifties somewhere else within there as well, but Small coming in. Cash Flow one on their own as well. Y'all are showing up and showing out for the first time. We got subs on the show, baby.
Oh yeah, we got the subs, we got the new emotes, and for all those subs, you're going up on the Wall of Fame, or the donator, however that works. Either way, everybody, we're getting lots of people up on the Wall of Fame, that is for sure. And honestly, for Johnny, they deserve to go up on their own Wall of Fame. They're going to be climbing up the ladder to hopefully challenge one of those championships at a later event. Yeah,
that's what it's all about, right? Getting the names out there. And I just realized I missed the scroll. I don't want to miss it. So Gangstology also with some gifted. Appreciate y'all, fam. But that's our first fight here, Llama. We've got 4 more here to go. 2 more before we get down to some title fights. But just like this first one was a banger, this second one promises to be good as well. It's going to be a UK versus US matchup. Love to see whenever we got the inter-region fight. So we will be right back with that second fight of the night. Make sure y'all are getting the Discord if y'all haven't already done so. And also make sure y'all are checking out the website here as well. But we'll be right back with fight number 2 after a quick break.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for the Rumble, the 5-fight night event. Still I'm on Q up here in the desk, by the way. Q, what a fantastic first fight, and now we've got 4 more on the day.
We've got 4 more on the day, a couple of more non-title fights, so a couple of what could potentially be shorter fights with the 10-round limit as opposed to 12. We just had our first knockout of the day. Hopefully we have plenty of those KOs, by the way, spammed in chat because y'all got those emotes here now as well. I saw we were able to keep that hype train to level 3 again. Appreciate y'all for that. We're moving on to fight number 2, and I gotta say, if you had to ask me, or if I had to tell you, actually, let me do it this way. Llama, put your notes away. Our 2 fighters are Bacon and Grits and Badman. UK versus US. Which one's the US fighter?
Probably not the one with Grits in their name, but I don't know.
See, Grits Southern, man. I think Grits, Bacon, and Grits. I think Southern meal. So for me, if US, I was like, that's the US guy for sure. But yeah, Bacon and Grits, our fighter from the UK. Badman here from the US. 2 guys here who have, I believe they've been around for a little bit, but have not, again, similar fashion, have not been on our shows just quite yet. Bacon on the left. We've also got, it is Badman on the right. Got to give a big shout out to Badman as well, coming in as like a last minute replacement to fight Bacon. Coming in the 11th hour. This one should be good.
Yeah, this is really awesome, and I gotta say, I know we've been shouting out the pictures. The pictures from the first fight were awesome, but these ones pretty good as well, bringing 2 different vibes. Badman, I like the suit. I think this is the first suit we've seen in a fight picture as well.
I do believe it's the first one that is suited and booted, maybe meaning bringing more of the professional look, professional vibes. I am a fan. I'm also a big fan of peace and love, and I don't know, man. Some tell me beat Bacon Grits. That's a man over there. But yeah, so both of these guys are working through basically the new sort of bracket that we've got going on for the ECS World Championship, right? Now that we're no longer doing those tournaments for our events, now you've got to make sure that you can at least get 10 wins minimum. So one of these guys trying to walk away with their first big one here. That way they can try and work their way towards that ladder to eventually earn themselves one of those shots at the end of our cards for a title.
That's always the exciting thing. Like we said, you got to earn your spot because, of course, the champions are holding on towards their belts already. But, you know, it's always nice to see the new talent coming in, contesting the old guard with all of their new skills, all their new strategies. And again, we're not picking the gym buildings this time. We are going big stadiums for these fights.
Hey, it is only fitting for a prime time event like we've got going on for the Rumble that we get the biggest of stages here, Llama, and we're getting ready for fight number 2. I'm not sure who to call here, mostly because we don't really know too much as far as on these fighters. It is the first time that they have fought one another. Both of them, as far as still got a lot under the that hasn't been shown in. Neither fighter's really shown their hand, which means that this could be really fun.
This could be absolutely fantastic of a fight. Like you said, a proving ground for both of these two to be able to show off their skills. And what better way would it to be the guy that comes in at the last minute, at the last hour, and have everybody maybe be doubting you, saying you were a last chance edition, and then come in and show everybody different.
Sometimes, man, it's the ones who come in with that, it's almost like you got nothing to lose, right? Hey, man, I was a last-second fill. No one expected me to be able to win. So not really. You're playing with house money here, in my opinion, man, and that is where you want to be. And the question becomes if Badman is going to be able to come out here and be a bad man. But let's get down to it. It's round number 1.
Round number 1, start us off here, the second fight of the night and one of the best venues in all of Undisputed. Now we're starting with some big power punches, and again, this first round does really feel like for every single time today, especially in these more fights that we don't necessarily know the names of, you want to set the tone early.
Again, another fight where we're playing with a little bit more, again, not the big boys, but some boys who do have the ability to throw a little bit of weight around. Some players who, some fighters who, kind of have a nice little mix of their bag here as well, so to speak. And I feel like both of these fighters, at least in the opening minute, doing a good job of getting some opening tags, but neither really leaving themselves too open to too much damage.
Not too much damage early on. Don't want to try and rack it on up. And again, like we talked about in the previous fight as well, stamina is going to be somewhat of an issue. It's not as much because you're not going towards those round 11 and round 12. But if you gas yourself out way too early, if you go too much in the offense, definitely can be punished in the long run. It's the exact same thing as, going in, taking too many body shots. You have to manage that stamina bar well.
Make sure that you can manage it to the best of your ability here. And I mean, at least early, both fighters doing a good job of being able to do just that. I don't want to feel almost underwhelmed in the fact. It's weird, right? We saw all those early knockdowns in the first fight. And you're just sitting here like, when are we going to get the first one? When are we going to get the first one? But it does seem like a little bit more tactical approach here. Neither fighter really swinging for the fences, but more so really trying to make sure that they can work that scorecard early. That way, the first time we get to glance at it, they got themselves a little bit of a lead.
Trying to get an early lead and build whatever they can. It does look like for Carl, a nice connection right here at the end. Of course, the Cobra does have that little bit of a reach advantage over their opponent on the other side, but only that tiny little bit of damage right at the end. I still do have to give that round just barely in favor of Badman, but still lots of rounds to play for.
Yeah, definitely was a close one. I'm going to be interested to see as far as in round 2. Round 3, even as we continue moving forward, if we start seeing any big adjustments moving forward from either of our fighters, or if they decide to kind of more go with the more slow and steady, let me keep working my game plan sort of approach. It feels like neither fighter, though, has really been worried about keeping too much of a distance. It's been more kind of working the side step, being able to work just outside of the range, stepping in and trying to land some shots.
Trying to land some shots from the side, playing a little bit tactical, and we'll actually get to see the view from Badman now, who does have a little bit of damage on that block, have a little bit of damage towards that body as well, or excuse me, that head taking a little bit of shots. But yeah, holding up that blocker now is just going to have to use the body as its own defense shield unless they want to get in towards that dazed state, trying to fight their way out of it. But this is the problem. You have the reach advantage. You do not want to be trapped off in this corner. It puts you in such a bad position.
Okay, the last thing you want to do is be caught up in the corner and be caught at that disadvantage as well. Left hand coming across from Groves. I think that landed there, but it does seem like I feel like this time around we're seeing where Bacon's doing a much better job of keeping the pace. And as much as maybe we saw Badman having the slight advantage in round 1, I do feel like this time around it's round 2.
Round number 2 feels like a little bit of a switch up and a little bit of correction. It does look like both of these fighters are both US based. So US versus US, you were right about the grits, and we will see, though. As
told you, it's got to be a Southern guy thing, man. It's the bacon and grits, baby.
Well, we'll see how much Southern style they add, because it is a big sting connecting and into the days with 20 seconds left to go. It is maybe a recovery there. Looking well from Badman to escape some of the danger, but they are taking a lot of damage with the hands up.
Taking some damage with the hands up, but you did mention the recovery, which was nice for the Cobra. Avoided being put down onto the ground. And I mean, maybe, even though that round probably goes in favor of Groves, it's only a 1-point difference in the round instead of a potential even 2, which means we're probably sitting right about even on the scorecard.
Yeah. Possibly that 9-10 rounds on either side to equalize us out after 2. Of course, the good news for us is we'll get to see that scorecard after the end of this third round. And the good news for the players is they will as well. Feeling like, though, for Badman is going to have to adapt the play style just a little bit. Right at the start of the rounds, you're seeing Bacon and Grits be able to push him back into the corner, and it feels like he's not really being able to escape, and when he can, he's being punished heavily.
Ooh, a couple lefts there from the side of Frock. We do see, I mean, does work their way back towards the middle of the ring, does the Cobra, but you had mentioned how much Badman continues to work back into towards the corner, and that does not allow him to use that advantage of the reach, which has just been really interesting to watch a similar sort of approach continuing to be worked forward, even though it doesn't really necessarily seem to be paying off.
Yeah, doesn't 100% seem to be that paying off that they need to just yet. And you want to use that reach advantage to try and do exactly that. Keep the range, keep the punches flowing, and especially those jabs are going to be nice to connect on. But the body, the block and the head damage, the block is something that we've seen from Badman, has held the hands up a lot, has taken a lot of damage towards it, which can be a little bit dangerous towards those later rounds when you really need to be blocking.
Yeah, you got to be able to pay attention and keep those hands up. You got to make sure that not only are you putting a bunch of damage down, man, but especially when these fights that we do see go the distance, I mean, the little bit of management that you're able to do through those earlier rounds can really pay off. But final seconds here, counting things on down, and you can't help but wonder who's going to be able to take home round number 3? Because it does feel like the first 2 rounds were back and forth. This third one probably tells the difference in what the scorecard looks like.
And it feels like a little bit more Bacon favored at the end of it, just with the damage, just with the continual pressure they're adding. I will say, though, still within range for both of these fighters to be able to bounce on back. But the good news for them is they'll get a little bit longer minute break here after this round 3 to be able to adapt towards what their opponent is throwing forward. And like we were saying, Q, both of them are definitely still in it. They just have to keep on playing this chess match.
Just got to keep slow and steady. Wins the race, baby. You just got to keep putting your best foot forward. Got to give it up to our chat, though. Over here on Twitch is putting in a whole bunch of support for Bacon. Seeing a whole bunch of support over there in chat. Make sure you continue to, wind it up, man. We love to see it. Let's get things going into round 4.
Number 4, here we go, off on into it. And yeah, keep showing the support, keep spamming all those emotes. And like we said, we just hit that amazing affiliate because of you guys, the amazing community. Right now, the amazing shots, though, flying from Badman. A good kind of recollection round as we get to, again, switch those point of views. Get to check out how Bacon is doing as the head damage a little bit to follow. However, again, trapping in the corner of the ring.
Yeah, continues to walk him down, right? I'm really surprised to see that over on that blue corner, we're not seeing a little bit more, not enough movement, chat. You would wonder if at some point here from Badman, when are you able to find your way out of the corner? Because, I mean, Bacon is cooking right now.
Bacon absolutely sizzling up here, hoping to keep the shots flowing and keep the scoreboard going their way. Again, this is not one of the championship fights, so we only have a max of 10 rounds. If you dig yourself even a 3 or 4 point hole, it can suddenly become very large as the rounds go on. But there it is, the days out of nowhere and into the corner, nowhere to go, into the block, into the head. But will it be the recovery? Yes, back-to-back recoveries out of the days for Badman.
Man, Badman doing a fantastic job of staying up on the feet. Yeah, Bacon doing a good job of dictating the pace in the ring, but Badman doing a great job of at least being able to kind of negate how big of a gap that's going to be showing on the scorecard. That shot to the body, the left hand that time around from Bacon, though, will put Badman down to the ground. First knockdown going to be coming across here. Should be relatively easy to recover from. Only a 5 count there from the ref.
5 count, gets back up on the feet. However, when we were talking about a close fight, those knockdowns are critical. We've seen before, you get pretty much an instant positive 2-point round if you're the one that is knocking down. We get to see that first days coming on through. It was the left hand to the jawline. That recovery from that daze, though, I gotta say, very impressive from Badman. Could have had 3 knockdowns in the fight, has only had 1.
Going to help at least a little bit on the scorecard, but now after that final one does come across here, Llama, it is going to make them come a little bit easier for Bacon if they can keep the pressure down. Heading into round number 5, though, and out swinging heavy is Badman. I think trying to show a little bit of an aggressive front, but that does not stop Bacon from walking things down into the corner. It is going to be Badman able to walk things back into the middle of the ring, but again, instead of a W gaming, it seems to be more holding things back. I can understand trying to keep the gap with the bit of an advantage that you have on the range there, but he's not utilizing it to his advantage, Llama.
Not able to utilize the range, and I think it's just such a smart game plan you feel from Bacon that you lost the first round. Sure, because of that range, you weren't really able to size up your opponent well, but now you have found the weakness. The power from George Grooves is so much that you can just start to overwhelm your opponent. And it feels like the overtime damage is just going to be too much. As again, Badman is taking a lot, but here it is going the other way. Into the days goes George Grooves. For Badman, this is a knockdown they need, but doesn't really feel comfortable pushing 100% through, trying to break through the block, and will not get the knockdown.
I think that's the first time we've seen somebody be dazed and throw punches instead of back it down. Bacon has some gall to just stand in the middle of the ring and say, "Come get me, bro," as he continued to throw some punches, able to stay up on their feet here as well. But it's 45 seconds left in round number 5, and still a couple of nice 1-2s coming across here from Badman, who has now been able to move themselves towards the middle of the ring, isn't having their backs up against those ropes, and has been able to use a little bit more of that advantage of the reach. But now both of them going toe-to-toe, blow for blow. Bacon not backing down.
Doesn't want to back down, wants to try and be able to work their way back in towards this round. It's been a nice set of damage towards the head at the late moments, but only 5 seconds left. Is it enough for a knockdown? Doesn't seem like it. The bell will ding again as we get halfway through our second fight of the night. We'll get to see again just the causation into what you were talking about, just standing there menacingly saying, "Come at me, bro." Bacon, though, Q, I don't know that we've ever seen two fighters recover from a daze in a fight.
Usually it's maybe one I think we've seen. I don't think we've ever seen both fighters. So already off to a goodie here. And of course, we're going to take a chance to glance at that scorecard here after this round. So for both of these fighters, they've got to be feeling relatively close. But if you had to call it right now, Llama, who do you think's got that? Doesn't matter who's got the advantage. It's going to be Badman pushing forward, has a chance, has the daze, trying to go with some body shots to open up the face. But again, another recovery from Bacon.
Bacon just standing there like a rock, but unfortunately the rock is gonna get rocked by Carl Farrak. Gonna push on forward and try and still hit that knockdown. It's through the gloves, a little bit of connection, but again, Bacon back-to-back dazed recoveries.
Can it be a third? No, instead does opt to take the knee, and probably a good call here. Of course, we will see that 8 count just for this fact of, in the sake of seeing an 8 count here. But it felt like for me, with it being so close to the end of the round, I mean, you got a minute and 15 seconds. I mean, I know that you just recovered from 2 and you don't want to have to try and work on the full, but it does look like, though, the knee recovery has got a little bit of extra breath of fresh air over on the side of Bacon.
Extra stamina boost is nice for yourself. Get that full bar right when you get back up and are able to push your pressure on back through. Again, after this round, we will be able to see the scorecard. And I was going to say, you asked me at the start of this round, who did I favor? It felt like Bacon going into this one was holding the lead, but with those multiple days, with that knockdown, you have to question how many points Badman did pick up in this round. But the pressure at the end of this round from Bacon, getting back up, getting back into the fight, and putting some good pressure on, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, there it is. There's the bell for round number 6. They're going to go to their corners here for a moment, take a little bit of extra seconds to catch some fresh air here, but you gotta feel like, as far as when we saw those couple of those opportunities over on the side of Badman, is that what could help be the catalyst to help kind of turn things around and keep things moving forward? Because Bacon seemed to be cooking relatively early.
Really did. Yeah, it felt like those rounds from 2 to 5 had a lot of control over the ring. However, starting to get punished on walking forward, you're starting to see those adaptations, and you can tell, even though these are two fighters new towards the ring here at the Ethlete Championship Series, very experienced in the ring in their own right. So here in this second fight, we'll get to see this scorecard here in just a second, and we got to see those stamina bars, Q. They're pretty much identical.
They're pretty much identical. I do believe Bacon, I think, had just a wee bit more, but not too much. There's going to be the look at the scorecard through 6 rounds. And yeah, we did see a nice recovery from Badman in that last round, round number 6, but it is still going to be Bacon up by 2.
Up by 2. Definitely enough to come back from when you still have 4 rounds to go. Same cannot be said if you go in towards that round 9 down 3 or 4. But look at the start here. Really good from Badman, getting the damage on towards the noggin on the other side. And you saw how many times you dazed him in the previous one. You talk about that cumulative damage. The head bar is almost 3/4 in its max capacity.
Yeah, I mean, you got yourself a little bit, but not as much. And now you got coming on out the damage across the head to Bacon. You wonder if maybe, just maybe, Badman can continue to string together some good rounds, because they do have the information that it was just a 2-point difference. If they could get themselves just a point advantage here in round number 7, now all of a sudden it's a 1-point fight and you're good to go down in these meat and potato rounds, rounds 7, 8, 9, where they matter the most. But instead, Bacon continues to play aggressive, pushing forward, and puts Badman up against the ropes.
Up against the ropes once again, and depending on how the fight goes, we might have to change those final set of rounds from the meat and potatoes to the bacon and grits rounds, if it does come down on to it. However, I will. I think I died for a second. I think I'm back.
We got you back. We got you back. I didn't want to interrupt in case you came back in. We had Bacon, had an opportunity to try and find the knockdown. And once more, it was a recovery over on the side of Badman to be able to stay up on their feet.
Up on their feet. Good recovery. Thank you for pointing that out. And, you know, we get to see again the stamina bar slowly dwindling on down, almost over that 50% marker, where things start to get a little bit close towards that flat-footedness. At the same time, though, Q, still a really, really close fight. This is an exciting second one.
This is a exciting second one, a closer fight here as we're getting ready to head on into round number 8. You mentioned how, you know, not too far off in the distance, we might be seeing some flat-footed boxers, but not quite yet. Badman stepping up into the middle of the ring, trying to go blow for blow here with Bacon, and then builds that little bit of a gap, but once more finds himself back up against the ropes. You got to find some way to navigate your way around. Doing a great job as Bacon to step on in, keep that room as close as possible, trying to negate that advantage of the reach.
Got to try and find a way to fight the reach, find a way to combo on back. It feels like Badman finding better ways to bounce around in this pocket and finding better ways to counterattack. However, as we're watching from their point of view, not the most health bars left on both the block and the head, down to below that halfway marker, trying to back up, drop the hands, and get a little bit of recovery. It feels like, though, Bacon knows they are injured, wants to push the gas.
Trying to see if they can push that gas, put the pedal on and down. You can see moving in, closing it, but that might work against them. Now it's Badman, has an opportunity. They've got Bacon dazed, trying to throw some big shots, but unable to land any nice left hand that I thought was going to open things up for Bacon, but it was just the one shot.
Just the one. We'll see if they can still follow it up. Again, cumulative damage is huge, especially as you get in towards these later rounds. Again, it is not the 12-round bout. You're not going to have all that extra time to adapt after the next round. So you got to be thinking in your mind, what can I do right here to win this fight? Maybe it's the head damage. Maybe it's with 20 seconds left to go, trapping your opponent in the corner.
Round number 8 only has 12 seconds left. Haven't seen a knockdown this time around. Now, has been a little while actually since we've seen a knockdown. We've seen some good recoveries on either fighter's side. Now it's going to be going to the corner for what? We got 2 more times for them to go to their corners, be able to kind of gather their thoughts, gather their composure. We're not going to see the scorecard just quite yet. I don't know if we've seen enough from Badman here for Badman to feel like they should be tied or in the lead just quite yet. They've got to find some way to figure out Bacon.
Got to figure it out, and got to figure out that last piece of the puzzle very quick. Again, for both of these fighters, it is attainable. It is doable here in these last 2 rounds. And as we see the cumulative damage, the head is not too healthy after all of those hits that Badman has taken. On the other side, though, it's going to be interesting for Bacon. We saw those cumulative days after days after days. You wonder if that starts to stack up and could be a weakness. A great shot connecting to the jawline.
Great shots to the jawline. Nice right hand across from Bacon here as well. Trying to lean in, trying to see if they can land some big shots. You figure if you're over on the side of Bacon, you feel like you still have the lead, but if in round number 9, you could put Badman up onto the rear, that would be huge. A left hand opens things up, but has not been able to follow up with a second shot. Keeping the guard up here is Badman, but eventually hits the mat.
Bacon sends him to the corner, makes him tap to the ground, and should be a nice, easy recovery, but at this moment cannot afford another knockdown. Really huge stuff here from Bacon at the late stages of this fight to try and secure it. Of course, with 1 minute left to go, it's got to be go now. It has got to be all gas, no brakes for Badman. You need to try and get a knockdown yourself if you want to equalize things out.
Yeah, that was big there as far as on the side of Bacon to be able to up the ante just a little bit, up the pressure, up the tempo, and be able to secure a knockdown when you already felt like you had the lead. Now with 25 seconds left, if we don't see Badman able to respond with a knockdown here, we can probably all but assume that Badman is going to need the KO in round 10.
Going to probably need that KO, but as time ticks on down, the head damage to follow. Badman is back. Another shot to the head. The body shots in flurry, but won't be enough as the recovery is in. We'll see that earlier knockdown to the mat as just trying to play defensive ran out of that health bar. We'll get to take our final minute break before that final round, but more importantly, Q, I'd like to mention one thing. Badman is playing with Carl Frock, who has third win. He gets 10% increased stamina recovery after round 8 for each round, by the way. So 20% more stamina recovery. This is the round he needs to go.
This is what Carl Frock was built for, you could even say, Llama. This is what he was meant for, those longer fights. And the only thing is, I don't know if there is enough on the scorecard. I feel like if it was a 1 or 2 point fight, I would feel better. We'll get to know officially what the scorecard looks like. And yeah, it's a 6-point hole that Carl Frock is trying to dig themselves out of. 3 straight rounds that have gone in favor of Bacon here, and Carl Frock now going to need the knockout.
Going to need the knockout and might just have it. Starting out, this could be the 6-point round that you need. It's going to be defense played immediately from Bacon and Grits, playing the low defense and throwing a punch back, but it's an extra shot. Recovery right back into the days, back to back. Lucid trying to push forward, and Badman will take him to the blue.
The question is, did that take too much time? You were already 50 seconds into this fight, or as far as into this round here in round number 10. We saw how quickly Bacon was able to get right back up onto their feet. 1 minute and 40 seconds left as our fighters go back into the middle of the ring, and you feel like if you are Badman, you are probably going to have to record 2 more knockdowns and force an end to this fight. But can you do so? That's the real question.
Can you do it? You got 1 minute 20, on the clock here for Badman. It is go now or, unfortunately, go home, and this is the go. This is what you need to see. However, the punchbacks from Bacon have been good, but not enough this time. 30 seconds for the second knockdown.
The only problem is that when they get back here into this ring, Llama, they aren't going to have very much time at all. For Badman, it is truly going to have to be all gas and no break. This is just a replay here. Yeah, nice shot coming in from the left hand, but now you got to push right into the corner. You got that recovery on the stamina. There it is. It could be a big knockdown. If you record 1 here, it's going to be Bacon continuing to build the gap, able to build the space and hold them at bay.
That final shot to the body takes him out of the day state, and even with the stamina recovery, I don't know that it's going to be enough. It is the point lead into the last round that holds him off. Bacon and Grits victorious, going all 10 rounds here in our second fight.
Able to go the distance, able to pull off the dub here. Bacon and Grits was absolutely cooking. And yeah, it might have only been a 3-round difference on the scorecard at the end, but I think when you take into account the amount of rounds that we saw taken by Bacon, can't help but do anything but tip the cat over that red corner.
Definitely deserve some props on both sides, but the dub is going to be there for them. Bacon and Grits will get to see some of these highlights because it was a really back and forth fight. You started with Bacon kind of opening up on that first round, had a big couple of hits, and then it felt like for a long stretch there, it was Badman really controlling the fight, but then started getting trapped in the corner. The continual damage built up. I will say though, if it was closer in that final round, man, you said it, Carl Frock is built for those late round skirmishes.
Yeah, I think the big thing, especially when we look and kind of reflect back for Bacon, was those real, I mean, it really was the meat and potato rounds, 7, 8, 9, all going in favor of Bacon. I believe 9 was a 2-point difference as well. So Bacon was able to basically double up their lead going into that last scorecard, just about. So it was a little bit more than about doubling up their lead. So it just put so much pressure on the Badman.
Pressure was there, wasn't able to escape out of the hole, but the final moments were absolutely amazing. I mean, the fight from both of these two, I think that knockdown might have saved Bacon and Grits for the entirety of it. We were wondering going into these later rounds, were you able to get some damage done? The answer was yes, and the damage was so good. I mean, this was a really entertaining fight. And we got to remember, Q, we still got to think about fight of the night. This is a pretty good contender so far.
It's definitely got to be a great contender, man. One, it went the distance. We saw knockdowns on either side. And it's the first time that we've seen both sides of the ring be able to land a pretty solid recovery. I think both had multiple recoveries, actually, over the course of that fight as well. So as much as you might say, well, Bacon kind of controlled the pace of that thing from start to finish. I mean, Badman had their moments of trying to come back and really make a fight of things. It's just at the end of the day, I mean, anyone who knows Bacon knows that Bacon is just too good. Not just the fighter, but just Bacon in general. If you don't like Bacon, I don't know what's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying?
Bacon really good, both the food and the fighter here today for sure. But man, 2 amazing fights already on the day, and we're not even halfway done. We still have 3 more left to go. Before we do hop on over to that third fight though, I need all you guys first and foremost, if you're not following the Ethlete Championship Series Twitch, make sure you do that. Turn on the notifications for when our next event is. As well, join our Discord if you want to get some sparring in, if you want to practice to climb that ladder, get a chance to be on this stream, get your match casted for all of history to watch, and maybe even climb the ladder to claim a belt. Make sure you're joining that Discord for free.
And I know y'all saw that hype train earlier, man. This is our first event where we've officially been an affiliate and y'all have been able to support the channel. Y'all continue to light things up, man. Big shout out to Northern Smog for another gifted sub. We've had subs also from Stinky, Bromar, and Daisy Boo. People using y'all Prime subs over here as well. Yo, look, I understand those might be free subs, but guess what, man? Y'all could use those subs anywhere across the Twitch sphere. The fact that you guys decided to use them over here with ECS means the world to us. Llama said it though. We've only got 2 fights down. We've got 3 more to go. 1 more fight until we start seeing some fights for the strap. This third one here should be a banger, so don't go anywhere. Maybe if anything, just grab yourself a quick drink because, I mean, it's been hot. These fights have been great. We'll be back with fight number 3 after a quick break.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our Rumble event. We have got 2 fights already done on our card. We've got 3 more left, including 2 championship fights for those belts. And Q, we're getting right into our next one.
I gotta say, man, big shout out to Chente here, man, and homage to the old school fighters with the nice little black and white touch with the gloves and everything as well. The most creative picture we've seen to date over here at the ECS, and making their debut as a fighter here. Over on the other side of the ring, it's gonna be Donny, an ECS veteran looking to bounce back. Called out Chente. He accepted. These two, you know what? They already jumped into it, Llama. Let's get down to it.
Let's get down into it, and pulling back from the stadiums, we're going back to the gym boxing ring. I know you talked about the pictures. I love them just as much. And, you know, we take the pictures into account as well for our fight of the night decision. But an interesting fight counter already going here between the two. And important to note, it is only max of 10 rounds.
Our last potential 10-round fight here on the evening. This is our 3rd fight of the night. That means after this, we will officially be over halfway there. And looks like both of our fighters are having no issue stepping in the middle of the ring and going swinging for the fences.
Oh, love to see the haymakers always flying and seeing who can build up some early damage, because it does feel like, again, we want to see an amazing fight, but also it's kind of cool to see like the chess match, the battle back and forth, and what they're kind of using to feel each other out in this first round to build a game plan for the rest of the fight.
Figure out what kind of game plan you want to build. We've got 2 minutes into the first round, and I feel like both fighters probably feeling decent as far as how things have gone so far. I do feel like we've seen a little bit more control over from the side of Bowie, but it's still too early to call. Of course, first round left, 30 seconds left in this first round as well, and our fighters still just feeling each other out.
Yep. Still that feeler out round for the two. 20 seconds left to go, and it does feel like a little bit of this back and forth, maybe one of those more even rounds. Nothing too explosive, nothing too detrimental to each other's fight just yet. That uppercut, though, slips through the gloves, and already, right at the end, from what wasn't anything, turns into a cut on the right side of the face.
That is tough to experience a cut this early into a fight. Of course, Llama, you and I have seen some fights in the past where those cuts still kind of sit at that level 1, maybe bump up to a level 2, but that is about it. But only time is going to tell. Doesn't look like that's changing up the game plan at all, though. Coming out even with the cut and everything, still trying to play as close and into that fighting range as possible.
Hoping to try and still play in that range to find their fight. And the good news is, I feel like, as it is on that right side of the face, we'll see if they can protect that a little bit more. Maybe use the front of their face, even though you don't want to use your face as a thing to absorb the punches. Maybe you don't get that cut even worse. Either way, a little bit of back and forth to start out the second round.
I have honestly been kind of surprised at how open that side of the face has been after taking the cut. There have been a couple of times where they've been caught with those gloves down, and it has been punished. And you see it's not slowing things down at all for Donny. They are trying to get aggressive.
Trying to get that aggression going early. Of course, we've seen a Donny before. We know the skills that they have here in this ring. And with this early damage, with this early cut, they can really start to pour on the pressure. It's trying to just do some early counterattacks, it feels like, for CIA. The problem is they're just not really connecting. Donny really working the middle of the ring well and just kind of baiting any attack in.
Yeah, Donny's doing a great job of just really asserting themselves in the middle of the ring here, doing a great job of dictating the pace of this fight as well. And I think especially seeing that cut above the eye, you have to be feeling confident here. I mean, we're only in round number 2. I feel like if you are Donny, you feel like you've probably taken yourself a case here to be able to say you've got a nice lead, nice stunning shot after that left hand.
Really good shot. And it's again on that left side. It just keeps, or excuse me, the right side keeps on taking a beating from the left side hits of Donny. Of course, that bell will toll here. And a little bit of stamina already used as well up from CIA down to that 87%, but actually matching over on the other side for Donny. So big advantage like we talked about with that cut, with that continual pressure. You have to imagine now that's 2 rounds in a row. Donny has taken the advantage, but as you mentioned, Q, if you play around that cut well, it's not the end of the world. You have a ton of rounds to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of distance to be had here as long as you can continue to stay upright and as long as you can continue to protect that right eye. You mentioned it is the left hand. A couple of lefts that do come across from Donny, aiming straight for that target, and you can't blame them at all. I mean, wanting to lead things off with the left hand does 2 things. One, might draw some attention to that right side of the face from the side of CIA, which then might open things up for a right hand from you. But also, when you land the shots, you just continue to work that cut.
Continue to keep that cut getting worse and worse. And, you know, you've talked about it. We've seen the cut do different things in time to time. We've seen it before where it has actually gone towards that 4th level cut and fights actually get called because of it. We've also seen where fighters play around it really, really well. It seems like right now for CIA, still taking some heat towards that right side of their face with about half of this 3rd round left to go. Trying to, again, battle back to the middle of this ring. It just feels like Donny more in control of the flow of this fight so far.
Yeah, I know these two have had a little bit of a sparring war here in the past, and I don't know if Donny was taking notes or what, but seems to have an answer for everything that CIA seems to throw his way. It has almost a premonition of when they need to be protecting the face, when they have the opportunities to open things up and send in a nice little 1-2, maybe even a 3 combo as well. But for right now, CIA needs to find some way to start turning things around.
Really does. Yeah, you do not want to have the damage building on up, and especially that scoreline. Like we talked about, even though there is 7 more rounds still to go, I like the little bit of emoting from Donny as he goes back in, but the back and forth flurry right at the end will get us down to the 000. So we'll get to see that extra little trading right there that we were just talking about, but that cut, we'll get another good look at it here.
Still looking like it's still on the grade 1, so we are still fine as far as that goes. And with this being round number 3, our fighters do get a little bit more time, and especially you figure over on the side of CIA, this is a chance to really pump the brakes, try and do a quick dissection of what you've seen thus far through those opening 3 rounds and try and find some way to make some changes. Because if you're CIA, I know you haven't seen the scorecard just quite yet, but you got to envision that you're down at least by a couple points, maybe more than that.
Yeah, I assume it's 3, could be a little bit more. We'll have to see, of course, after this round, both of the fighters and us as well, including our audience, will be able to see that scorecard, kind of start to judge where you want to go from there. And the adaptations have to come now. You cannot wait till round 6, like we were predicting, is that 3 lead. It's definitely doable to get back. Just the biggest thing is, in these next couple rounds, if you are CIA, you cannot suffer a knockdown at any costs.
You cannot take a knockdown at all here. You got to find some way to stay upright and vertical, and you got to find some way to start stringing together some rounds. I mean, yeah, maybe not quite into those potato rounds, as we've talked about earlier, but you cannot let this lead build up anymore.
Can't let the lead keep going, and maybe we'll switch the name to the Bacon and Grits round for how well Bacon had played in those last 7 through 9. It does feel like, though, for Donny, nice little left swell built on up, then doing some damage with the connections onto the dome. Nice control again of the middle of the ring, using the reach to just pop out a jab, feel it out, and then be able to counter whatever CIA brings back.
Yeah, CIA just doesn't seem to have the answers quite yet, right? CIA's has seemed to do a good job of trying to build more space here in this 4th round, but space isn't necessarily what CIA needs right now. What CIA needs is to find some way to put the Don on his back and have a count start going towards 10.
It's got to be that, right? You have to feel like, as much as we said, you can't get a knockdown yourself, you're going to need those extra points eventually, especially if Donny's just been outworking you so far on the body, on the head, especially to just get these chip damages that are adding up towards the point total that he has created. With 30 seconds left to go, though, this could be the time. This could be it, and this could be the connection off the right hand that you needed. The body shots will be there to follow as Donny tries to defend, will drop down.
Let's drop down, takes the knee, so I don't have to worry about the recovery. But it is going to be a quick bounce on back up to the feet here. And that does, I think, give at least a little bit of an indication as far as the match turning slightly as far as in favor over of CIA. Not a huge change necessarily, but like at least enough as CIA feeling better about things heading into round 5.
Definitely feels good. Get some points on the board for themselves and possibly their first winning round so far of the fight. Now it's keep going. Now it's, you're a little bit damaged. You're a little bit banged up here or there, but we haven't really talked about the cut at all in a while. It's been held at bay for most of this so far. We haven't had the ref check on it even once. So it feels like for now, for CIA can still play a little bit wild and free. Still has to be a little bit careful of that cut. And Donny, I feel like that is a place you're going to have to attack.
Donny has to find some way to get back onto the attack, right? Because it does feel like they are letting CIA start to build a little bit of that momentum, and momentum can be very, very dangerous. Yeah, every once in a while we're seeing the Don doing a great job of landing a nice little left or maybe even a right, but we're not seeing the 1-2 combo the way that we were in those opening rounds. CIA has really kind of pushed things up a little bit.
CIA is absolutely up the tempo from 0 to 10, has brought it in towards this fight, and especially when you need it most, these middle rounds, the ones between 3 and 6, where you're able to find some extra momentum back. And I wouldn't be surprised if CIA can find some damage in the next round, and we could be sitting all up and even. And even after this round, if you think last round you got the 2-point advantage from that knockdown, could be already in that even state. I do gotta say, both gotta be a little bit careful of the stamina here. Starting to use a lot of those bars up as the headshot getting a little bit low.
Oh, CIA has been coming out swinging. I was wondering the same thing about the stamina bar, because right now going all or nothing. And yeah, it's not necessarily a 12-round fight, only 10 rounds, but we're only halfway there once we get through these final 5 seconds, and quite a bit of that stamina bar has started to go down. Final punches being thrown in the middle of the ring, and we are now officially halfway through this fight.
Halfway into our third fight of the night, and our last one that has 10 rounds as its maximum. No extra rounds that we've had to go to just yet. Everything been decided either by KO or by scorecard so far. For CIA, though, like we talked about, it's been a really good last 2 rounds. Momentum in their favor, starting out the round in the corner. Maybe not exactly what they want as they escape out.
Able to escape out here, and still have a little bit of room to be able to work with. We're 30 seconds way in through round number 6. Remember, after this round, Llama, we're going to get to take another look at the scorecard. We'll get to see if CIA has been able to cut into things, and if so, how close things are looking into those final 4 rounds. It definitely felt like CIA has done a really good job of bouncing back.
Has a good bounce back so far. The performance, though, has to continue, as it's going to be a nice little hook that starts off a combination. However, CIA just gets out of that one quickly. I love to see these recoveries from the fighters, and you can just tell the level of play, especially here in the championship series, is just going up and up as Donny goes down.
That's Donny taking a little quick nap onto the mat. It isn't going to be a long one. It's going to be able to bounce back up onto their feet, but that is more points on that scorecard that are going to be very, very important for CIA.
It's massive. Those points are going to be huge, especially as we'll be able to see it here, that scorecard, in just a little bit. I'm a little bit worried about, overusing the stamina bar, getting a little bit too flat-footed too early. However, it's enough right now to bring yourself back in the fight. Excited to see how things are going, and for Donny, starting to lose that flow that we felt them controlling over the start of the fight. The hook connecting, though, does do some good damage towards the noggin on the other side, and for Larry Holmes, it does feel like for CIA has to be careful. That cut is a big nuisance for them, and the health bar is as well down. 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4, dodges their way out of there.
Oh, he took a risk with the right hand, and it paid off, man. You can see, I mean, so close in that bar, does just enough to recover, though, able to stay up on the feet, makes it to the bell, and there it is. We're all tied up going into round 7.
So Donny actually won that 5th round, but with the double 2-point rounds in 4 and 6, all tied up here between the two, we head to the back part of this fight. And again, the fighters and us will not be able to see that scorecard until round 9. You have to make those adaptations, and it feels like for right now, both need to get their gameplay under control. It's been a back and forth day's slugfest.
I mean, CIA has been able to bring things back a little bit more in the course of the last 3. Feels like, I mean, the tide's slowly starting to turn. The 7th round, if we see Donny able to get a knockdown, would be huge to turn things back into their favor. But you can see CIA closes the gap, is able to land a shot, but then goes right back into the cover-up. A left hand, though, going to leave CIA dazed, and CIA is going to get a knee on the net, a knee on the mat.
Dazed, confused, and down towards the mat here. Points that Donny definitely needed. I love that corner trap because he was finally able to capitalize off it, moving forward, not wasting any time, and making sure this time CIA cannot get one of those counterattacks to bail him out of the dazed state. We got a minute left to go, and cue the fireworks just do not stop.
Fireworks don't stop yet. Don't stop, especially here in these rounds where they matter the most, Llama. And we've had ourselves our first knockdown. Don't know if we're going to have ourselves another here in round number 7. Donny trying to see if they can re-grab the reins and head this thing in the right direction.
Trying to get back those reins, trying to turn it in that right direction with only 5 left to go in the round. Might just be a wait for the bell, unfortunately, for CIA. Feeling like they had to go forward, took a couple extra shots towards the head again. They'll rest up, and that cut's still on its first stage, so shouldn't be a problem, it feels like, for the rest of it. But good to see that big left hook, and then the immediate, no time waiting for Donny. This is the experience of an experienced fighter. They capitalize off of any single mistake.
Done a great job of capitalizing. This is now a chance for our fighters. Remember, we've seen the scorecard. Our fighters knew where they were sitting. This is now a chance to take one more quick breath. And it feels like if you are especially CIA here, this is where you've got to be like, all right, I need to turn things around and have 3 consecutive rounds.
3 consecutive rounds in a row has to be it, right? You controlled the start of the fight. You were leading at that 3rd card, but now you need to bring things on back, especially with a couple of those knockdowns. The damage buildup isn't going to feel too good. The problem is you don't have the most stamina bar to be able to just burn everything down. Only 53%, not the most to try and hit some of those counterattacks. Of course, headed here into round number 8. You talked about it. 3 more rounds left in this one. After that, round 9, we'll get to see the scorecard. And as a reminder, make sure we got Gangstology Magic up next, but CIA says right now, I'm going to put you to the ground.
And that's huge for CIA to be able to come out here. You were talking about needing 3 solid rounds and to be able to get a knockdown that quick. Yeah, it's just a 6 count, so still at the point where relatively easy to recover if you are Donny. But now with the knockdown and still 2 minutes left in round number 8 for CIA, maybe you can get a double knockdown in this round.
Maybe. I mean, that'd be a huge point swing, and you talked about it. You have to be consistent for these next 3 rounds, but if you can make this round a big point round for yourself, if you can make the judges and us see why you deserve to win this fight, Could just be it. I will say the flurry, though, is going to be good. Donny makes sure, like we said, brings the experience towards the ring. Back and forth shots, you can see them all connecting, and that's just the result. The low stamina bars, both players having to drop their guards at points. With a minute left to go, there's still possibility for some knockdowns.
There's still a possibility, and really you could even say so on both sides if Donny was able to up the ante, but you do got to have concerns if Donny tries to up the tempo. Does that potentially leave things open for CIA to be able to get yet another knockdown? 36 seconds here left, and for both of these two fighters, this is where they've really got to put their stamp in it.
Kind of put the stamp on the game. Got to try and bring the heat, and this is a critical round for yourself to be able to win. Feels like CIA led early, but at this point, a little bit stuck in the corner. That longer left, just really hard to deal with from Donny as he plays his range really well. Looks for a little bit of boosting shots right at the end. The right connects, but he will not go forward for any more hits.
Wasn't quite able to get forward enough. Not enough time to be able to capitalize there. But right back into the ring. Round number 9. 6 minutes left. 3 of which are going to get fought out here, and then we'll get to see the scorecards one last time.
I'm excited to see that scorecard for sure. We've had dazes, we've had knockdowns since we last saw that absolutely lockjaw card between the two, and now it feels like for Donny on this offense, late is just absolutely their game plan. Hopefully reserved enough stamina to keep the pressure on as the head damage following down to that 1/4 marker. We have to remind ourselves that cut is still there in play. Donny could still try and attack that left side.
I don't think we've seen that upgrade to a grade 2 though, right? It's still sitting at the grade 1 last time we saw it, so even if it does get worse heading into the last round, we should be good on the cut since we've made it this far. Upping the pace though, here is CIA. You can see Donny trying to land some shots to continue things going, but it's the mouthpiece gonna fly out thanks to the left hand, and CIA puts him on the ground.
Man, count it. 2 mouth guards flying out of the jaws here today in 2 of our fights, and back up to a knee should be okay to keep on fighting, but that is a critical moment. We might look back in this series and say this is the moment where CIA won the fight. With 50 seconds left to go, Donny has got to pour on the gasoline.
Donny has to start the fire and get things cooking here. CIA has had control in the back half of this fight, and CIA does not look to be trying to give it up anytime soon. And you see doing a good job working the distance, getting back on in for the kill, but this might be the chance. Has the stun, and that's going to be a body shot to the right side of the body. Puts CIA down.
The body shot is beautiful, and this time around, it's not like the end of the last round. He says, I'm going forward. I got the time. Last time I was just watching over you menacingly. This time I'm gonna do the damage. Could be an even round. Don't know. It just feels like a toss-up towards the two. We can see just the body shots there, and again, that continual damage that has been faced from the early stages of this fight has built up to now. The scorecard is Donny by 1. Last round we go.
So this is one of those fights where we do get to see the scorecard, and neither fighter necessarily needs the knockout to secure the dub, but it does let CIA know that you need to really up the ante in this final round. You need to win this round by 2 if you're not trying to force a draw. Of course, if you're trying to appease Llama, get yourself a 1-round difference, and let's go to some extra boxing.
Oh, that would definitely make me happy, but as you just saw pop up on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, CIA now flat-footed for the rest of this round. They're going to have to be the one to win in point advantage. And again, Donny just kind of working their way around, playing the stamina bar, and seeing if they can just play defensive to take a score lead.
I don't know if I'm playing defensive if I'm Donny here, especially if you happen to see that he's on the heels of his feet. You up the pace and you find a way to put him onto their backside because a knockdown all but guarantees you this fight. But you can see that does not slow CIA from stepping on into the middle of the ring and trying to throw the lefts and the rights.
Well, speaking of that, right, that cut is upgraded to that second level, not of danger to call the fight, but still of danger of that right side. You talk about the damage, you talk about how the judges are going to see that cut upgraded to that next level. Donny just needs 45 seconds to secure this fight. The pressure is on now. CIA needs a flurry of their lifetime.
30 seconds left, and what's interesting, you'd wonder how you can find a way to up the pace if you're CIA when you're flat-footed, but they're doing a pretty good job of it, continuing to hold forward, occasionally steps back just to try and bait Donny forward just a little bit, try and see if they can find him into the kill zone. But it's been a very disciplined fight from the dawn, and as the bell rings, I believe Donny has done just enough to secure the W. The scorecard should show it, and there it is by unanimous decision. It's going to be Donny with the dub.
A close fight, the closest one we have had all night long, going all 10 rounds and almost going to some extra rounds as well. It just felt like Donny managing the stamina just a little bit better, only winning out by those final 2 points. You see those couple of rounds, though, where CIA was able to get the knockdowns, was able to get those 10-8 rounds. It was the battle back, though, at the late stages from, again, Donny, an experienced boxer we have seen before.
Oh, it just goes to show you can't put too much credit on that first scorecard, man. Yeah, it's nice to have the lead there, but you cannot coast simply because you have a multiple point round. Not saying at all that I think that that's what CIA did here. I think it just shows the capability of a comeback even after a couple point deficit. But man, what a banger of a fight. Another one that goes the distance.
Another full distance fight. No extra rounds, unfortunately, for me, but a great one nonetheless. And honestly, really good for CIA to, again, kind of come in here last second, be able to fight an experienced boxer and be able to kind of hold up their own weight and be able to get some really, really good offensive strikes. You're seeing it in the replay is in those mid rounds, and especially in the beginning, was controlling the fight well.
I think was doing a pretty good job of controlling the fight through, I mean, honestly, a lot of the fight. I mean, we saw through, I mean, it was neck and neck even once we were at the turn there for that second scorecard. It just felt like in the back last couple of rounds, it was just an extra step or two when we look over from the side of Donny that had just enough to eat this thing out.
Just enough to be able to win it out right at the end. And honestly, this could be a fight we either see both of the fighters fighting again or, again, climbing that ladder. It feels like they have both earned their medal to fight again here in the ECS Championship, Ethlete Championship Series, again and again. And I mean, how many times have we seen Donny just come in with experience and be able to match up against the best?
They've got the experience, they've got the ability. And this is what it's all about, being able to come in here and put on a show, even if it's not for the strap, right? We've seen it over the course of the first 3 fights. We've had some amazing talent that have been on display today. But speaking of the fact that it's about being able to put on a show when there isn't a strap on the line, Llama, these next 2 fights, well, they're for some titles here, and it's time to get down to it.
Yes, they are. 2 titles on the line. We got a US championship. We got an EU championship. The return of Gangstology, one of the most dominant fighters in all of ECS. It's going to be an absolute banger. But maybe you guys out at home want to have yourself on one of these fight cards. Make sure you're joining the ECS Discord for absolutely free. You can get some sparring practice. You can grind up the ladder to get a chance at one of those belts. And maybe you just want to be involved with the community. Make sure you are turning on not only the notifications here on the Twitch stream, hitting that follow, but make sure in the Discord as well, you're hitting the notifications on the Go Live stream channel.
Of course, getting those notifications on. Also, make sure you guys are getting involved over on the YouTube as well, where we post the stuff after the fights have been had, and continuing to look forward. A big shout out to all of y'all who have been showing the support here. Our first live event where we have officially been an affiliate over here on Twitch. Give a shout out to the subs thus far through the show, but I also want to make sure we don't miss J-Sal and Bacon and Grits, who both were able to throw some subs across over the course of that last fight. But I am hearing in my ear that our fighters here in this next fight, they're wanting to get down to it. So we're going to try and take ourselves a super quick break here, and then we will be back with that U.S. Championship here in a minute.
And we're back from our short break as Q promised here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our Rumble main event. We're down to the bottom of our fight card and time to decide some titles. 3 amazing fights already that already went some distance. We had some KOs and now we get to crown or maybe don't crown, having some defending of the championship.
I mean, it's either crowning a new or a defending champion, but either way, someone gets to hoist up a belt after this. It's going to be the U.S. Championship. It's going to be Gangstology challenging Magic. Of course, Magic became the champion after TKO and Cash 1K in the Ascension, became the champ. Magic did take Gangstology's place to a schedule for a rematch against Cash 1K. So now it's Gangstology getting their rematch, but it's now against Magic here. So these two have faced off against each other numerous times, which means we might be seeing a little bit of a switch up of game plans here.
I would love to see some sort of switch up, some sort of something special. Of course, Magic being that defending champion is able to pick that weight class up as well. So for Gangstology, of course, like you were mentioning, still did have that rematch clause, even though it wasn't against the previous player that they were able to play against. So this one is going to be really exciting. Like we said, belt on the line for the two. And we mentioned their experience. Not only have these two really played each other a lot, have sparred each other a ton, but also, I mean, they just bring some of the most experience from any ECS fighter to the ring.
These are two fighters that I think if you've been around for more than a minute, you've at least heard a mention of their name. You know the prestige that comes with these two prized fighters. This promises to be a banger. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the one that delivers some bonus boxing for you, Llama. So maybe, you know, something to hang your hopes on to, but don't try and get your hopes up too much, because if I know anything about these two fighters, they are going to be swinging for the fences here early.
Definitely going to be swinging for the fences. Definitely going to be looking to take any advantage they can. However, like we said, these are the ones that could go all 12 rounds and even more if we get lucky enough to witness it. We're back out of the gym queue and back into the massive stadium for our first big championship fight card of the night.
Back into the arenas here, baby. Let's get down to it. And since there is a title on the line, if it goes the distance, we are guaranteed 2 more rounds of boxing. And of course, we are talking about the extra boxing. If we happen to have a draw and you haven't been through when we've had it before, that means we get ourselves 6 more rounds of boxing. But here we are. There's the bell. Let's get down and do what it do, man. It's our U.S. Championship time, baby.
Yes, sir. U.S. Championship underway. Gangstology going to be on the left in the red, piloting the Josh Taylor, and Magic going to be piloting Kevin Kelly. I believe the first we're going to be able to see of this matchup so far. And I like the early feelers. This is what we always say. This first round is about what is your opponent throwing? What can you beat them with early? And what sort of damage can you create?
Yeah, what kind of space can you create and what kind of momentum and kind of tempo to this fight? I like the sidestep from Magic to be able to land the body shot, doing a really good job of working their way around this ring, but it has not caused Gangstology to back down at all. The two of them ready to square off, dead in the center of this map, of the square.
Right in the center, looking for each other, and Gangstology still using that movement. We've seen him actually pilot the Josh Taylor to victory multiple times before here. We've seen it in the sparring. We've seen it is one of his favorite picks overall. So you have to wonder, Magic obviously coming into this one is the defending champion, was able to pick this weight class and also was able to get the ban away. So you think maybe ban away, Gangstology's number 1. Josh Taylor, maybe it's his overall number 2, but has played it so many times, maybe it'll be his number 1.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see and how this thing plays out for now. I mean, both fighters have landed some decent shots here in the opening 2.5 minutes of fight. Pretty early to try and start calling this round one way or the other. I feel like for the two of them, just trying to kind of peck away at the stamina, peck away as far as that health bar as well, because whoa, big shot here coming across from Magic, but Magic doesn't close the gap to try and follow it up.
Lets it slip just a little bit. Might have taken a little bit too much damage themselves. Didn't want to get hit with a counterattack. A little bit of dizziness falls in there. We got the 000s to start us off. We'll see the replay of that really nice connection. Just a slip through the gloves of that left hand. And it's a relatively good start for Magic. First, Gangstology not using up too much stamina, not blowing too much of their resources. This is what you expect out of a championship.
Oh yeah, exactly what you should expect out of a championship fight, especially when you got two prize fighters the way that we do here in ECS. By the way, man, I appreciate seeing more of those follows coming across. We crossed that 100 mark here over the course of the day. And chat, you know what, man? Let's spam some of those emotes here and get some hype going for this championship fight.
Let's get some hype going. If you haven't already, share it to friends, share it to family members. Let's get everybody in on the ECS train. Get them rumbling and ready to go here. Of course, in the second round, already a minute on in, just trading blows at the moment. It does feel like for Magic, a little bit of extra offense for them, boosted from that momentum at the end of that last round. And you can see neither player taking too much overall damage, really, again, playing well with their slips, playing well with their blocks to make sure they don't take direct damage.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing from two fighters who normally have no problem asserting themselves in the ring, a lot of respect being shown towards one another, not wanting to overextend and getting caught on the wrong foot, which could be severely punished by the fighter on the opposite side of the ring. And instead, playing it closer to the chest, spending a lot of time covered up. You mentioned more worrying about the footwork to try and find, even if it is just a simple single shot to try and pile onto the scoreboard.
Trying to find one sort of shot that can add up eventually. Like we said, it's not about necessarily just getting the full knockout right in one round. It's about slowly building up your lead. And these are two fighters that really have been known for just taking those smaller advantages, not overextending, not overplaying their hand, having a really good poker face. And you're seeing it here at the end. It is going to be a couple of great shots from Magic, but these counters from Gangstology put Magic in the corner.
Had him backed up just a little bit here, and final bell going to come across in round number 2. Our fighters going to find their way back towards their corner. I don't believe either fighter has any sort of cut or nothing yet, and nothing that we can see there as far as on the display. And also noticing that both sides, when we look at both the health bar and stamina, looking pretty good in those departments as well.
Looking very good for sure. Not using up too much. Like we said, experienced fighters not going to use everything in their kit just to blow it over one round and then lose in those later rounds. For Gangstology, again, potting the Josh Taylor, one of his favorites. We'll see if he can kind of use this advantage that he's created, hovering around the mid part of this ring, do some damage, but just again, still trying to feel out the waters here.
I think both of these fighters have tried to come in with a little bit more of a slower approach than both of them are kind of used to seeing from one another, which I think has almost taken one another back, and where we've normally kind of seen where maybe one person pushes the pace for one part of the fight and then the other for a part of the round. Both just kind of sitting back, and it's almost like they're waiting for the other one to push the initiative.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Waiting for those counterattacks, waiting for an ability to punish. The problem is neither is really making mistakes, so you get this kind of stalemate between the two. The right not connecting there. Would have loved to see a little bit of damage from Magic. Seeing though as Gangstology is looking for those big shots, a couple of big swings, and again, you can just feel the reach off by just a little bit. No one wanting to go in too far.
No one wanting to overextend, and definitely not wanting to leave themselves in a vulnerable position. We have 45 seconds here now, Llama, until we get our first glance at the card. Something tells me we're probably only going to be seeing probably a 1-point advantage, maybe 2, depending on how things have gone, but probably not 2 because we've seen no knockdowns. So more than likely just the 1 point all the way around, and I don't know who to call it for yet.
I definitely don't. It could be decided on this third round how that scorecard first goes. But as like you said at the end of that last fight, you cannot really bank on your round 3 scorecard lead. It has to be a whole continuous fight. You have to keep playing well. And we are going to take a look. As a reminder, though, join our Discord community if you want to have a chance to fight and be in the next card. You can join for absolutely free. Get some practice sparring the best of the best, the most inviting community here. Lots of fun in there. So after 3Q, looking pretty even.
Looking pretty even. We'll be able to get an actual look at the scorecard here in just a moment. But while we have the thing up there talking about the Discord, man, Llama, you and I, we work across a couple of different competitive scenes, and I think you and I can both agree that it's the practice at the highest of levels that helps really people refine those skills so they can continue to get better. That's the whole point of the sparring that's in the Discord. So even if you're not necessarily thinking you're ready to step up to the brightest of lights to be able to jump up onto a show, just to test your wits and test your skills, jump up in the Discord and see how you do.
Exactly. And, can sharpen the skills of the best, increase that level of play for everybody. And you were calling it. It's only that one singular point lead. Gangstology winning both those first 2 rounds. Magic able to take the third one. And now just that single 1-point lead. These back foot players, they're just trying to really look for possible counters and just look for any sort of opening. But again, playing very decisive.
Yeah, not surprised to see Gangstology in the lead there by the point, just simply because it seems like Gangstology's been doing a little bit better job of controlling the pace, but neither fighter really getting much flashy shots. We're seeing a couple of headshots coming from the side of Magic that have landed over on Gangstology. Another right hand there as well, continues to work the body, but Gangstology just, even through that, continues to walk this thing down and tries to stay as close to Magic as possible.
Trying to get into the face, taking a couple of shots on that backwards rotation. And the big important thing is for Josh Taylor does have just a slight reach disadvantage. So as we were talking about, has to get in just a little bit closer. That's why also we were seeing some of those earlier counterattacks missing by just inches where Magic was able to connect on some of them as well. However, another really close back and forth one. Some extra damage to the head along with the right swell building on up. Gangstology trying to increase their lead.
Gangstology trying to increase the lead, but does feel like we have been seeing Magic being able to land some pretty decent punches here in round number 4. Nice barrage there to the body that opens up the face for Gangstology, but then also has to make sure that they can cover up because Magic isn't slowing down.
Magic doesn't want to slow down. Increasing the pace here at the last 15 seconds can be huge, but it can also be the opening that Gangstology needed. A player that works so well off the counter attack, controlling the middle of the ring with 5 left to go, is looking for a couple of body shots to tack on the total of the points. The bell dings again, and it feels like another round that right at the end of it, Gangstology pulled out.
Yeah, it feels like Gangstology is doing just enough on the scorecard, right? Like, it's nothing flashy, but it is being very consistent as well as persistent. We're seeing they're able to step forward with a nice barrage of shots to the body, and even working the body there again on the second part of this round, coming on out and just scoring some small tags and continuing to work the card.
Gotta continue to be working the card. Gotta continue in the eyes of the judges to be improving throughout the fight. And it feels like for Magic has been a little bit on the decline here, even though it's just very slightly. And this championship fight, it's even more noticeable. Gangstology going a little bit forward, and even as much as Magic has been trying to go for those backstep jabs, playing the backstep a lot, feels like Gangstology is starting to recognize that the damage building up over time can start to get dangerous.
Has opened things up a little bit here, but even still being very disciplined as far as in the approach, not getting overzealous, overheating, as we might call it in some of our other games, right? Continuing to just simply poke and prod, but a couple of nice right hands from Magic there, lights up the face, leaves him upright and standing for a second, and now tries to continue to keep him at bay with that right jab, trying to keep working the body just a little bit, but nothing really too crazy.
Nothing too crazy, nothing too big at the end of the day. I mean, you do have to mention that Josh Taylor, 4 higher on the overall ranking, 86 to the 84, does have just a little bit extra power behind those punches, a little bit extra durability as well. So for Magic, is going to have to find a way to get those counters. And I think it could be to the body. When you see Gangstology go in, look for those left hooks to the body. Now it's connected on 2 of those.
It's connected on a pair. And continuing to just wait for those opportunities to strike here, even in the closing seconds. And round number 5, continuing that very same low and slow approach. Takes the shots to the body, though, and now with the bell ringing for the end of round number 5, we're 1 round away from getting our second glance at the scorecard. And of course, with this being the championship fight, Llama, things kind of change a little bit. Whereas those first couple of fights we watched today, that was your last chance to really solidify a game plan. Whereas this next view of the scorecard that we're going to get to look at here in a round, well, you're only about halfway there. So it's kind of more of a long play game plan from there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you have that round 9 scorecard to look forward to. You also have to imagine, right, that like, oh, I got to manage my resources for a couple extra rounds. After that, I have to be prepared for those late rounds when, even though when you're on low stamina, you have to be ready to still hit counters, still protect that face and the body. But it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like it's still really, really close.
It feels like it's still really, really close, but I don't know if Magic has done anything enough for me to believe that they've asserted their dominance onto the scorecard, though. It feels like this has still been Gangstology's fight, as whether it's a 1-2 point lead or whatever that looks like here in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I just don't know if Magic's waiting to try and more use those meat and potato rounds, 7, 8, 9. You can even include 10 in that in the longer fights, right? To try and really up the pace, because it just feels like Magic continues to, I don't want to say play passive, because they are at times trying to move forward. It's just, I'm not seeing the same aggression from Magic that we've seen in other fights.
Yeah, not the 100% go forward. And I mean, it's possibly because, again, both these players, they're very experienced. They realize if I can just beat a player off my counters, off my movement, I will. The other thing is Magic has that longer reach, so is trying to play a little bit further back. Even if it's a minuscule amount of reach, you can still feel it by just a little bit, and going in and missing a shot then puts you at such a big disadvantage. But if you see this scorecard and you're down 2 or even 3, you're going to have to start going on the offense.
I think the one thing that Magic is a little concerned about, though, which might be causing the, I guess, lack of aggression, is we saw them trying to push the pace a little bit in the earlier rounds. I'm wondering what the stamina might be looking like over on their side, especially with the fact that we still have a whole half of a fight left. I mean, we see some of these punches that have been getting thrown later in this round have been very slow out of that blue corner.
A little bit slow to fly on out. We'll see how that stamina bar does fare. But that is the end of 6. We'll see the flurry from Gangstology right at the end. Headshot, body shot. That might just be the 2 couple of hits they need to win the round. 47%. That is not good.
That is that's not good. And now you have to find some way to kind of find some way to distribute this balance of upping the pace to try and finish this fight before you're really out of stamina, and conserving, well, every little bit of this 47% and just holding on for dear life because you have 6 more rounds to go.
I mean, it is a 16% differential in that stamina bar. For Magic, you're 7% away from already becoming on towards that flat-footed, and it is not looking good with how many rounds are left. And you look at the lead that's ever extending from Gangstology has won 5 out of the 6 rounds. It doesn't matter if it's only by 1 point. That lead is almost insurmountable with your stamina now.
Yeah, and I mean, I said it, Llama. I didn't think that Magic had really done enough to really turn things around on the scorecard. I didn't necessarily think that meant that the last 3 rounds had gone in favor of Gangstology either. But, man, that is going to be tough. And now I can't help but wonder what's going on in the back of the mind of Magic. You were down by 4. You were under 50% stamina. You've got to be a little concerned.
Yeah, concern is there, especially for me, because the 2 ways back you could think you're not ahead, right? You can't just rest on your laurels, play that low stamina bar. you're also down and you're down on both. So if you're going forward to try and catch back up, you're just burning your stamina down more. Is that going to burn you out even faster in the fight? But it feels like it's the only way. You have to go possibly all gas in 7, 8, 9. If you lose it to scorecard in 10, 11, 12, so what? You need to get some knockdowns, it feels like.
Yeah, you got to find something. This slow and steady wins the race approach that we have been seeing from Magic here thus far. They've got to find something to change it up here, because there's got to be some sort of drastic change that puts Gangstology onto the mat a few times.
Got to be something. We haven't had a knockdown just yet, and it feels like for both of these two, the first one could be absolutely massive. And for Gangstology, this is how they've won fights in the past. Not always picking up the fight of the night or the flashiest KOs, but slowly whittling away those resources of their opponent. Nice connection, though, from Magic, slipping one in right at the end over the gloves onto the face. So maybe Magic doing enough there to catch back on up, but 5 rounds lost out of the 6 on that scorecard, not a way you want to start.
Not the way you want to start here. And again, you feel like you've got to find some way to up the ante, but it's another 6% that goes down. I mean, yeah, you get the +1 off of that round, so you're up to 41, but it's 41% as opposed to the 59 across the way. So even if you do try and up the pace, right, Gangstology has enough in the tank that they can go swinging themselves.
Oh, yeah. They've got so much left in the tank and preserving it really well in that round here, too. I think for Magic, it's possibly just using your range, looking for those counters, but the problem is they've been getting trapped in their own corner and not really any way to escape. As we head into 8, it just feels like for Gangstology, just play slow. You don't even need to necessarily be the one on that front foot forward. Yes, it'd be nice to get a knockdown, a big explosion of points onto the board, but you can force Magic to work into your defense.
It's got to be discipline at this point for Gangstology. That's all it's got to be, because you've put yourself in prime position here in round number 8, with especially knowing, I mean, we're close to seeing the flat-footedness from Magic, which will just be another sign for Gangstology that they're able to kind of keep things coasting. And for them, I mean, look what they're doing, right? They're keeping the gloves up, slowly walking things down. They find an opening, they hit them with the 3-piece, and then lead back in with another shot to the body.
Really good combinations, and the damage is nice as well. The other problem is playing Kevin Kelly. Sure, the Lionheart is nice to get you that increased speed of getting back up, but your block speed is actually reduced, which is going to be important, even if it is 3% headed here in towards some of these later rounds where you're going to need your block. You're going to need to be able to play defense and hopefully be able to weather the storm. Gangstology using a lot to work around here in this round. Some good counters and a headshot from the left hand there from Magic.
Magic lands a nice shot for the counter attack, but I mean, just look on down, getting a little slower here out of that blue corner. And I think Gangstology starting to realize that, trying to close the gap, trying to punish to the best of their ability here. 30 seconds on left. And I mean, Gangstology, you can see feeling good. Just, I mean, kind of work in the middle of the ring.
Kind of working it, working well, and playing with what they have. I mean, every fight is going to be different, but of course, being the champion has had to work through multiple different scenarios, multiple different players to even get towards this position. Magic is going to fight with everything they have. A late body shot as well. You'll see it. Not much pain on Gangstology's face, but also 34% stamina, by the way.
By the way, 34%, man, that is rough. And you wonder though, at what point does that difference in the stamina, I mean, yeah, it's still to like, what, 22% right now? But when does Gangstology like almost turn the burners on? And do we see that from the side of Gangstology, where you try and finish things off with a KO, get the extra exclamation point? Or are you so comfortable on the scorecard that you vibe? Because you always got to be concerned about the flash KO. It can happen at any time.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That could happen. But at the same time, It feels like if you go forward, that could allow the chance for that flash KO. If you just play your stamina bar, work around them, don't let the big shots connect, or especially those combos that slip. Really beautiful. Gangstology able to work in and work towards the body. You can use these next 2 rounds especially to just build up your lead and play comfortably.
A fantastic job here. First minute gone by in round number 9. We're 2 minutes away from seeing that scorecard one last time. And man, I don't know if, what was that, a 4-point difference there at the 6th card when we saw it turn? It was 5 point.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, I don't know if Magic has done enough to really negate that much more than maybe an 8-point, but probably not even that. It's weird, right? We know, we can see it, bottom right hand corner, flat-footed, but Kelly's going to have to find some way to pull out the KO.
Gonna have to find either a flash KO or a lot of knockdowns to the ground. It comes with a couple of combos. The problem is your hands get that slowdown if you burn that stamina bar, and then you don't have anything to dodge. That is where Gangstology could put the gas pedal into the floor, and maybe this is where Gangstology these next couple rounds starts to put it on. There's a shot to the ground. Magic falling to the floor.
Magic's falling down to the floor. Of course, it is a first knockdown. Oh my God, look how easy that is to get on up those bars. Darn near, barely moving. A quick 5 count to be able to find their way back to the feet here, but that will bring an end to round number 9. One last longer break here for Magic to try and put some sort of game plan together, but especially with the knockdown there late in round 9, we can expect to see a pretty significant deficit on the scorecard.
Pretty significant. That's going to be a gap for sure, and for Magic, especially being dropped, you can see the pain on the face. 31% the stamina bar. Your health bar is, by the way, double in percentage what it is. Gangstology is getting close towards that flat foot and is still up and healthy, though, at 48%. It just feels like managing the fight really, really well, making sure they haven't been taking too many hits. And honestly, for Magic, it's got to be a miracle now.
Final couple seconds here of our break, Llama, and we'll be able to see exactly what the scorecard looks like here in just a moment. And, you know, we've kind of talked about how the pace of this fight has been a little bit slower than when we've seen these two fight off against one another here in the past. I saw him standing in the corner, and I thought we just had a DC this late in the fight. I was going to be very, very nervous. I didn't want that to be the way this thing ends. But we can see a pretty significant deficit on the scorecard, and Magic is going to require that miracle you were talking about.
It's a miracle. It's probably a knockdown in every round. You're going to need to win each one by 2. And, you know, if you win each by 2, actually, that'll make me really happy because then we'll get some extra rounds here on this fight. But it just does feel like for Gangstology, controlling really well, making sure to keep on hitting those body shots. You see the abs rippling over for Kevin Kelly. And for Magic, already a minute down in this fight and down to recover some stamina with 30%.
Down on the stamina here, and back we're looking at that flat-footed across the ring. Both fighters, though, still standing in the middle of it, looking to try and throw some shots. And for Gangstology, it's been that left straight that's really kind of kept Magic at bay. I know Magic is a fighter that in the past we've seen does a really good job of disciplining people whenever they overextend or be able to punish on their mistakes, but Gangstology has played a darn near perfect fight, and they've played at a pace that's allowed them to really keep the control.
It's been really, really good control over the fight, and for Magic, they've had some good counters. The problem is they burned a lot of that. I know we've been on the stamina issue, but they burned a lot of the stamina early to try and win those early rounds and then didn't end up winning them. So now you're with 30 seconds left here in the first double-digit round. Of course, this is a championship bout, so we will go to 11 and 12 if needed. Magic actually did some really good damage in this round, specifically towards the body, but I just still don't think it's enough.
And I think it's a tough place to be in if you're Magic here, right? Because for Magic, it's like, what do I do to change things?
Yeah.
And I think
when
you ask yourself this question, I mean, the hole is just already too deep with only having 2 rounds left. I mean, you just don't have enough tools at your disposal here to even try and come back.
It's like we said, if you go forward, you're going to get caught with no stamina. If you don't go forward, you're just going to lose anyway. So it feels like a lose-lose scenario. Of course, after 10, we will get 2 more now because of this championship fight, as we were mentioning. I'll go right on into this next one. And for Gangstology, they are close to being flat-footed as well. But it just feels like even on flat-footed, Gangstology is still going to have so much more stamina.
Gangstology definitely in a better position, right? And I mean, we're going to be walking right on into round number 11. This one feels like it's going to be going the distance simply based off the fact that Gangstology, I think, comfortable where they're at on the board. You can see sitting in the middle of the ring, literally just rocking back and forth like, hey, bro, just would you come in here? Let's swing back and forth instead of this dance that we've been doing here for the last couple of rounds where neither of us is able to put either one or put one another onto the mat. But Magic want none of it. I think instead is trying to see if they can lure Gangstology even more forward, but it's been the discipline that's been able to really keep them right where they've been at on the scorecard.
Discipline for sure. And 2 fighters that, again, have worked their way for this spot, have the discipline to, you know, again, stay in a fight where it has only been 1 knockdown in its entirety, but at the same time, both have been playing relatively well. Magic just losing out barely on some of those early rounds and then it cascading into the late part of this fight. Now, of course, Gangstology is that flat-footed, but does it matter? Is it enough for Magic to get a knockdown or even that flash KO? Because the defense just looks so good from Gangstology.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been playing a really great defensive game once they got the lead. And I think especially once you saw, I mean, Kelly went flat-footed in like the 7th round or something like that when you still had plenty of stamina, plenty of gas in the tank. At that point, you were just able to coast. And I don't mean coast in the sense of letting your foot off the gas, but just putting on cruise control and staying in the lane that you're at.
Staying in the lane, staying going. And for Gangstology, it looks like headed into this final round, we'll throw some extra, play some defense, and see if they can solidify themselves again as the champion. If you remember, they were the champion, got taken down. They had their rematch clause. Magic in the last event was able to take the belt for themselves, but that belt is looking to switch hands again.
Looking to switch hands here. Gangstology sitting in a pretty good spot. I mean, right now, when you think about it, Gangstology, they've controlled this fight from round 1, and Gangstology came in here with a game plan and said, you know what, that strap is mine, and they've had the control from the word go.
Had a lot of control. We'll see if that control can be busted, if Magic can find the miracle we were talking about. But Gangstology just says, I got the iron fists. I'll hold him up. What are you going to attack? I've got counterattacks. I've got more stamina than you. I've got more points on the scoreboard. And I am 2 minutes away from stealing your belt right off your waist.
2 minutes away from being able to call themselves champion. Once again, that's what it's all about over here at ECS. Let's be honest, the bragging rights, the fact that you can call yourself a champ. We had earlier fights in the day where people are trying to kind of, cut their teeth, be able to earn the stripes that are needed to be able to earn the opportunity like we're seeing here in the middle of the ring right now. And Gangstology is going to capitalize on it here today and be able to call themselves US champ once more.
Feels like so. Just 1 more minute to hold on and maybe some fireworks. You never know. Maybe there's the possibility of that flash KO right at the end here, but it just feels like Magic, even kind of managing their stamina bar here at the end really well, did get gassed out a little bit too early. For Gangstology, just playing defensive, knowing that they can hold on towards this lead that they have built. Slow and steady wins the race, and it feels like Gangstology the winner of this one.
It's the risk that you take when you try and swing big early, right? In those early rounds, Magic tried to up the tempo just a little bit. And I don't know if part of it was because you were playing from behind in those, even at this first card, right? Like, yeah, it was only a point, but that was because Gangstology had won the first 2, right? Like, I don't know if it was just feeling like they needed to try and assert themselves on the card early or what, but by being unable to be successful there, then having to play from behind, not just on the scorecard, but with less gas in the tank, it's just such a big hill to try and climb up. And because they were unable to do so, it's Gangstology that's your US champ.
Yeah, it actually says winner by a split decision. One of the judges actually favored Magic, so it is a 7-point victory. The other two judges
I'm
ruling
so
in
confused.
favor. I don't know. I don't know what that judge was seeing. They maybe were thinking Magic had some good defensive
was Magic
shots.
paying the second judge?
Maybe. Check his PayPal.
Oh man. Either way, regardless, yeah, Gangsology, I mean, earned it. You can see it on the scorecard. I mean, not just the scorecard, but even the stats as we were looking through it there. I do also think part of the difference that we are seeing on the scorecard itself was those earlier rounds that we had called so early or so close, Llama. Yeah. That middle judge was kind of calling in favor there. So I think that was part of it. But regardless, though, man, a banger of a fight. Another one that went the distance. We had the KO in the first. This one now a third that goes the distance.
All the way to 12 rounds, and sadly for me, we don't get any extra rounds added after. You know what? It was a close one. I felt like.
I said we got one more.
Oh, that is true. We got one more fight to try and get towards those extra rounds. But I felt like even though like we talk about at the end, like there's this big, massive 7-point lead, as you were talking about and as we saw from that one judge, a lot of those rounds were like 2 or 3 hits, super close.
I think the second judge really does kind of show how close it was, despite what I guess you could say the other 2 scorecards were showing there. I mean, it was a fight, tooth and nail through it. It's just unfortunately in the back half of the fight, once Magic was flat-footed and it gave so much more space and freedom for Gangsology to control the middle of the ring, that's where they were just really able to, I mean, put the final nails in the coffin.
Extra nail in the coffin, extra dub, and the new U.S. champion. Gangsology, congratulations. You have your rematch clause. You got it. And you are now the current holding belt owner. I will say, though, that I think does mean for Magic, now they get a rematch clause. Now we could have this rematch later in the future. And this is one I want to see again. It might not have been the most flashy fight or the most knockdowns in the world, but this was a chess match from the word go, and it was an absolute pleasure to watch.
And now you and I, Llama, we're going to have a quick conversation about, at least thus far through the day. No, once we go to break, we're going to have this conversation because I don't know what to put as fight of the night thus far. We've had 3 that have gone the distance. And I don't even want to make it seem like the first fight isn't worthy of consideration of that as well, because the first fight was a banger too. But man, for our first championship fight of the night, to be able to go the distance that it did, has me excited for the main event.
The co-main event, we got 2 championship belts to battle for, like we said here today. But of course, before we do get towards that other one, we got some reminders for you guys. Of course, first and foremost, without you guys, it would not have been possible to get affiliated. So we do appreciate that. We got subs available. We got new emotes. We're going to have the wall of fame for all of those amazing supporters. And you guys have been so amazing. Keep on supporting. Keep on sharing the stream out to every single person you can, so we can keep building the community on out. And make sure you guys are joining the Discord. If you want to be a part of these events, get some sparring practice against the best of the best, you can join for absolutely free.
And jump in there, and you mentioned fight with some of the best, and you've also talked some of the best supporters, man. Big shout out to Cash for we got ourselves another gift to sub. Hugs Dealer throwing down some more bits during that last fight as well. But y'all, get excited. We're going to try and keep this break short, just like we did the last one, because we've got another title fight on the line. It's going to be the EU Championship, Ghetto IP versus Boxer Tricks. That match could be coming up right after a break.
And we're back from our break, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our Rumble Fight Card Night. And we are going to our co-main event. We already had one belt decided before our break. We have another belt on the line. And Q, this is one of my most anticipated fights of the night.
This is, although I think the one I picked, since you picked the other one, we were both really excited for both the two championship fight. The first championship fight delivered a banger, so now we go to the EU championship. It's Ghetto IP versus Boxer Tricks. Of course, Boxer Tricks became the #1 contender in the Ascension after taking down Hugs Dealer, who had previously taken him down twice. So now he gets the chance to face our current EU champ, who, you know, Ghetto IP, one of the biggest names that have been around the scene for a bit. Should be a banger. I gotta say though, man, as much as I loved from what we saw from Boxer Tricks in Ascension, until someone can prove to me that Ghetto IP is not the top dog, I don't think I'm betting against them personally.
Yeah, it's really tough to not only bet against the champ, but like you said, just bet against somebody that's been so consistent and has been one of the top dogs since the beginning. But I do think if anybody is going to be able to take him down, you think about Boxer Tricks and the calm, down-to-earth mentality about never panicking, even if they're down in a fight. That's how they've got a name for themselves, and that's what makes this fight so exciting.
Just look at that picture, man. You can't tell me that Ghetto IP don't look like he's a straight up G, man. Not somebody I'd be wanting to step into the ring with for sure. We've talked about all day long how we had two straps up for grabs. The first one changed hands for Ghetto IP. Can they have a successful defense against Boxer Tricks? That's going to be the question. We've got 12 rounds to figure it out.
12 rounds to figure it out. No, actually, Q, I think we've got 18 rounds because we're going to the extra rounds for sure. But yeah, that extra 11th and 12th round really do add towards the pace of the gameplay. And you also see it kind of in that last championship fight. If that one goes 10, it could be a whole different story for Magic, where they could blow their stamina bar in those earlier rounds and then not really have to recover. But thinking of those later rounds and specifically thinking on which fighter you're picking, if they're available to keep on fighting in those last 4 rounds, is going to be huge.
All right, so you say we're getting 18 rounds. Who's winning it, Llama?
Man, I just feel like Boxer Tricks is ready to go. It has played so down to earth, but man, it's hard to bet against the champ. I think I got to take Ghetto, but it's going all 12.
Think it's going all 12. I definitely gotta lean towards the way of Ghetto IP as well, and that is no knock. I want chat to know that is no knock at Boxer Tricks. I think this is going to be a banger of a matchup, one that is truly worthy to be the 5th and the final one. Yeah, the co-main event, but everyone knows if you're the second of the two, you are the main event of main events, and that's what I'm expecting. 12 rounds of fire Undisputed action.
Well, it's going to be fire. It's going to be lightning. It's going to be every single thing out in that ring. And again, a belt on the line to name yourself the champion. But also as a reminder, this one has a chance to dethrone our current fight of the night in the back of our minds. We need help from you guys out in chat, picking your favorite fight of the night and helping us pick which one will be labeled as that fight of the night. And as a reminder, I know some of you were wondering if you're looking for these fights, if you missed any of them, we had some amazing ones that are going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel after the day today. You're going to want to catch those highlights too.
Yeah, dog, go over there and do the YouTube stuff. Y'all already know what to do, man. Like, comment, subscribe, let those videos play through. Let's try and build this thing up. We've got ourselves a nice little scene for some Undisputed action. And as y'all have been seeing today, man, even our non-title fights, all 3 delivered some fuego Undisputed content to be consumed, man. I know I have been absolutely loving being on the desk here with you for another one here, Llama, and especially now at this point, when we talk about, you know, we've moved officially into the Rumble, we're going to be doing these things more often, every 3-4 weeks. If this is the type of stuff that we get to see every couple weeks, sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, this is an amazing event format, and you were talking about kind of that improvement. We've also got those tips and tricks videos going out on the YouTube as well if you want that improvement to follow. But we're into our final fight of the night, the EU Championships. Boxer Tricks on the one side, our defending champion, Ghetto IP, on the other.
Oh man, it's time to get down to it. You'll see, of course, at the bottom, you got the potential of the 12 rounds. We've been talking about it. It's a championship fight. Bringing out the middleweights here. And we've got Sergio Martinez, Sugar Ray Leonard, man, two very, very strong fighters. Of course, that does mean that we have a slight reach advantage here for Boxer Tricks, and I'll be looking for them to try and use that to their advantage.
A little bit of that reach advantage, and you see they're taking advantage of it early, getting into the middle of this ring and putting the pressure on in, and this is a lot different from our previous fight. Instead of starting slow, we are starting fast. You talked about the fire and lightning they're going to be bringing. Well, they're bringing hits already, and I love how aggressive Boxer Tricks is getting.
I see what you did there. Fire, lightning hands there for Sergio Martinez. I am a fan, my friend. First 2 minutes in, though, and yeah, I mean, a very fast-paced fight compared to the first four that we've seen on the day. And, you know, still both fighters doing a good job of kind of the ins and outs, trying to keep range where they can. A nice little combo here, a two-piece that comes across, and you got to be careful of your Boxer Tricks.
Gotta be a little bit careful about those combinations, especially as you get higher up in the weight classes. Those strength and power do increase. A big headshot as well, taking him down to about half of that HP bar down the lower left-hand corner. For Boxer Tricks, though, it's all about getting the control. A few seconds left, and it felt like a Boxer Tricks early start was good, but Ghetto IP a really good response.
Yeah, it felt like kind of a tale of two halves of that round. The start of it definitely felt a little bit better over for the side of Boxer Tricks, but I mean, we talked about how disciplined and how great of a fighter we do have out of the blue corner when we talk about Ghetto IP, one of the best to do their thing. Let's get back into it for round number two. Let's get down and do what it do here, Llama.
Round number two, let's get down to it right now as, again, fireworks already. Both are looking for that big moment, and this could be, like we said, the fight that dethrones our current fight of the night that's in the back of our minds. But it's up to these fighters, and it's up to, you know, see who's going to be battling for not only the glory, but the belt to a guaranteed possible fight in the next event.
You got the title, you know you're going to be getting more shine, right? And who doesn't love more time in the limelight? Yeah, having that strap means you're going to be getting more time on these rumbles. We just started off season one with this event here, and we've got plenty more that's going to be heading y'all's way. So speaking of which, you just happen to stumble on in, you're like, hey, yo, this is kind of lit. Make sure you hit that follow button down there in that bottom right-hand corner. Turn those notifications on, because we are going to be coming at you with more Undisputed action than ever. And speaking about action, right in the middle of the ring, the two fighters going toe for toe, and right now Ghetto IP not backing down for anything.
Ghetto's putting in the damage. I love how he's allowing Boxer Tricks to come in with that extended reach we were talking about, and then punishing him, getting in close, making sure to get the movement, the footwork going. And as well, also you can kind of see the southpaw start to advance here from Boxer Tricks, using that right hand as the front, being able to try and open things on up. However, it feels like as well, Ghetto just really controlling things so far over the course of these first two rounds.
Ghetto IP's been doing a really good job with the control. You can see Boxer Tricks is trying to assert themselves, and at time has been able to land some pretty good shots, whether it be working the body, which we've been seeing them doing here recently, or trying to swing for the fences with some shots towards the head. We've seen a couple of those here as well, but final seconds of round number two expire, and our fighters go back to their corners.
Back to the corners here. We'll get to watch that flurry from Ghetto IP. Really comfortable against those ropes, really comfortable escaping on back and hitting those combinations. However, I do feel like for Boxer Tricks, after two rounds, blowing 17% of the stamina, not necessarily what you want to see. However, those are the first round kind of jitters that do start to pop on out. We'll see if it does become a problem as the fight progresses.
See how things go as things go a little bit longer. Of course, here at the end of this round, we get that first gaze at the scorecard, and we'll be able to see exactly how these two fit. But, I mean, right now, when you talk about what we're seeing, the eye test, it's definitely showing me that Ghetto IP at least has got a minimal lead behind. Nice left that's able to find a connection across the face there as we see it.
Great connection there. Able to find a lot of damage so far here in these first 3 rounds. For Boxertrix is, again, very down-to-earth fighter, even in these behind positions, is still able to find ways to strike. But as you've mentioned before, it's just so hard to counter the power of SRL and Ghetto IP, the one to pilot them.
Ghetto IP is working SRL right now, man. And it's been the leading from the front with the left hand with some bigger shots as well that have slowed down the approach from Boxertrix, despite the fact that they do have that little bit of reach advantage. And that hasn't slowed things down as far as from Ghetto IP either. They're sitting right here in the middle of the ring saying, come get me, bruv.
Come on and get me. Take the fight head on. And speaking of the head, Boxertrix taking a little bit of damage towards that upper body so far in this round. And once again, another counter shot connects. Ghetto IP just playing this more defensive style. That's also meaning that Boxertrix using a decent bit of that stamina do not want to gas themselves out. 15 left to go until we see that scorecard.
Final seconds here in round number 3. You can see neither fighter really wanting to close it and find any sort of reason to really turn over the scorecard. Of course, as I say that, brother shot there in the middle of the ring. But I think when you kind of take a second and kind of reflect back on these first 3, it does feel that Boxertrix has done a good job at least keeping things close, but I don't know if they've done enough to make me feel anything as far as like Ghetto IP is fighting from behind here.
Yeah, fighting a little bit from ahead, it feels like, for Ghetto IP. Possibly 2 points is what I'm thinking, but the stamina bars are relatively even, 75 to 77, so it's not as big of a worry as I was thinking. However, in this recovery mode, you do also got to think, if you are Boxertrix, what's been going wrong? You've been stepping in a little bit too aggressive. You have the reach advantage. It's hard to just, sit there and stare at each other with nobody attacking, but you really want Boxertrix, if you are on this reach advantage, to play a little bit more defensive. Don't give those counters over, because that head damage can build up so much.
This builds up quicker, as you were mentioning earlier, the heavier the punches are from behind, but it's a 3-point lead over to the side of Ghetto IP. Of course, it is a championship fight, so we are going to visit that scorecard 2 more times while still having more boxing to be had. So not necessarily the biggest of worries for Boxertrix, but the concern then becomes that, you really can't allow for Ghetto IP to take too many more of these next 3 rounds.
Definitely cannot. You got to build up a lead for yourself. And although we talked about the lead is nice, we also have talked about before that you cannot bank on your first round 3 scorecard. You need to be able to play consistent throughout the rest of the fight. Of course, consistency has been Ghetto IP's name, holding on towards this belt and getting towards their spot, working up with the confidence through all of the early leagues and the early days. Now for Boxertrix, it just feels like, again, taking some early head damage and not having the stamina to follow up on their attacks.
Hasn't has the stamina to be able to follow up on it just quite yet here, but oh man, standing right there with Sugar Ray Leonard being able to throw punches at you, whether you're gloved up or not. I don't know if that's necessarily the move. Nice little combo here moving forward from Ghetto IP to be able to continue to try and work that scorecard a little bit. We can see quite a bit of that head damage over on the side of Boxertrix, and it's Ghetto IP again moving in with the left, but being met with a couple of left here as well from Boxertrix.
Yeah, Boxertrix is putting on some good damage here in this round, has find some ways to slip on through, and bad counter though, bad taker right towards the teeth again, as Boxertrix, 15 seconds left in this round, should just be able to recover back into it, but it has managed the stamina better, it feels like, but it hasn't really felt like to me that they've even won this round with the late flurry.
Was a late flurry that might have been able to help things out. And I mean, you got to remember, right now you do have to find some way to continue to rack up the points, right? I mean, yeah, it's early. I know we talked 12 rounds, plenty of fight. Even if you look at the scorecard at 6 rounds, there's plenty of time to make the adjustments. But the way the scorecard looked early, that late flurry was what was needed.
Late flurry going to be important for both of these two as we're getting into the later rounds. We're still almost about halfway through our EU Championship, battling for the belt here in the main event. That's the connection though. Boxer tricks the left over the gloves, down to the body, and down goes Ghetto.
We talked how important it was to just be able to continue to stay the course and being able to stay up on your feet, and it's going to be a quick kneel on down that does allow for Ghetto IP to recover just a little bit here. But for Boxer Tricks, that's got to be a nice little bit of momentum booster for you. Be able to then go, hey, you know what? Maybe we can turn things around here. And especially with that being so early in the round, you've still got, at this point, even a whole half a round to try and get another knockdown.
That's very true. If you can keep stacking up knockdowns, get a couple here, more than one in a round could be detrimental not only to the 3-point lead that Ghetto IP had built up after round 3, but also, again, just the long-term damage can be something that you can swing your way in a fight. However, Boxer Tricks, like we said, does have to be a little bit careful of that aggressive pace. If you use too much of the stamina, we saw in that last fight what can happen.
Nice left hand coming across there from Boxer Tricks, which I do believe was able to find its mark. And despite the fact that they were able to find the early kneel down from the side of Ghetto IP hasn't come close to finding the mat again. It felt like this could have been a good advantage for Boxer Tricks to really kind of double down onto the scorecard. But final 10 seconds and Ghetto IP looking as confident as ever in the middle of the ring.
Confidence is a key here, especially in the championship matchup, and Boxer Tricks around, they definitely won. The question is, can they snowball this to a victory in some of these later rounds? We'll get to see that replay again. It was just that left connection over the gloves, and then I love the follow-up, taps him up against those ropes, and it's some good damage towards him. I don't know if it necessarily gives Boxer Tricks the lead just yet, but we'll get to see that scorecard after the end of this round.
Yeah, I'm definitely not feeling like quite yet, but you mentioned another 3 minutes and we'll for sure at least have a good grasp of where things are halfway through this fight. And I mean, right now, neither fighter looking to try and back down, both stepping up to the challenge.
Both stepping up. We'll see what can be done. It does feel like for Boxer Tricks trying to just keep the pressure on and taking that damage at the start of the fight, not necessarily what they do want, but, you know, it's all about consistency, and consistency is going to be key throughout the possible extra rounds. Like we said, you're in the championship matchup, you have that extra round 11 and 12 that you have to work your stamina bar towards anyways, and when we swapped back and we saw, it looks like Ghetto, even though they've maybe lost the last 2 rounds, they have been preserving so much stamina.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason was we saw both fighters, I mean, coming out swinging early, right? So they then want to try and kind of sit back just a little bit because you don't want to be flat-footed come round 7 or 8. We saw how that goes in the last fight, right? You want to try and be able to conserve as much to be able to continue to be able to move freely around the ring as long as possible. Of course, we talk about moving around the ring. The two of these fighters right now, they haven't moved at all from the middle of this thing, but it's going to be a move forward from Ghetto IP, able to get the knockdown.
Knockdown will equalize things out here, and just using that so much aggressiveness that when you have the reach disadvantage, you have to find those right moments to burst on forward. Of course, it's the 1-to-1 knockdown count for each, so it's super easy to get back up after that first one. But you see, it's Ghetto. This is why they are the champion. They know when to push. They know once you're recovered, that health bar is not going to be fully there, pushing the issue, getting the damage, and maybe giving themselves some more points.
So you tell me that they know when to hold them and when to fold them?
Yeah.
No way to walk away. Sorry. That's going to be the end of round number 6 here, though. Both fighters have been able to get themselves a knockdown. But what does that look like on the scorecard? And it has been Boxer Tricks that has been able to cut into the deficit. Actually, had been almost able to completely negate it before that last round.
Yeah. before that last round was pretty evened on up, and only that 2-point differential makes things really, really close and makes these last 6 even more important. The exciting thing, though, I've got to say is BoxerTrix, this is the chance here in these rounds to push your issue, bring back your momentum, and try and battle back from that knockdown. And for Ghetto, it feels like even though you're ahead, still have to find some sort of answer to this reach.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Ghetto IP, though, is you're seeing that BoxerTrix is starting to play a little bit more aggressive. I almost can't help but wonder if that little bit of cut into the lead might almost give BoxerTrix like a false sense of security to continue to play aggressive. And if that is the case, Ghetto IP can play a little bit more passive and just punish the mistakes.
Punish those mistakes. I mean, even though there are very few of them here in the championship because you've got 2 great fighters, it does feel like there are still those moments, those slight openings that you're going to have to bust on open. And with 2 rounds away from seeing your next scoreboard, again, the last time you're going to see the scoreboard is at 9 before we get to those final judge decisions. And I will say, maybe you got to get that PayPal ready to get off one of the judges.
I mean, we saw that one of the judges had quite a bit of it. Judge number 2 is the one that you got to hit up if you. But last 20 seconds here in round 7, it was a nice opening shot there from Ghetto IP that I thought might have been able to lead to an additional combo, but instead sat back and allowed BoxerTrix right back into things. No knockdowns here in round number 7, as I think both fighters are trying to put together their last game plan for these. I know I keep saying it, but the meat and potato rounds.
I'm calling them the bacon and grits rounds at this point. Like, I think we've established it, man. Bacon, the fan favorite from earlier, but played well in these rounds, and that's what both these 2 fighters are going to have to do. Consistency right here, right now, as you get into the back half. And as I'm looking again at the stamina bar for BoxerTrix, it's not looking too healthy, but you're not flat-footed just yet. You have to play these next 2 rounds. It feels like perfect.
Oh, that's a flash. Today's able to get the knockdown as well. And yeah, it's only a second, so of course you'll see those bars not really moving too far. Going to be able to recover at a 5 count. But when we talk about the scorecard and how BoxerTrix had started to cut into things there in those rounds of 4 and 5, but then 6 struggled with the knockdown, and then now in round 8 also going down as well. It's Ghetto IP. I was starting to combine fighter names. Ghetto IP that is really asserting themselves on the scorecard.
Scorecard seems to be theirs at the moment, but last we checked, they were only up by 2. So even if you get a couple knockdowns here, there's still those late rounds. There's still always the way to come on back. However, the defending champion wants to do exactly of their namesake, defend their title, hold on to it here as BoxerTrix looking for some sort of opening, going to go for the body, but Ghetto just not letting them.
Ghetto playing very disciplined, right? I mean, we see him playing covered up quite a bit, just enough to open things up just enough for BoxerTrix to feel comfortable lurching forward. You mentioned trying to use that range, which of course, when you throw the punch, moves you closer to the range of Ghetto IP, and they've been doing a great job of either countering or then just simply stepping to the side and landing a nice shot in their own right. So, I mean, right now, we've been seeing just a phenomenal job from the side of Ghetto IP.
It's a great job so far, and it's a great job to end off this round number 8. Really not letting any second go past their mind, playing until the bell does ding. And that we just saw right there at the end, the red circle with the line through it. 40% of the stamina bar is going to mean that flat-footedness from here on out. But we'll get to see that knockdown again, and it just feels like the damage over time that has been done from Ghetto has just been too much to deal with here. And headed here into round number 9, BoxerTrix, you're gonna have to realize you're already down. You cannot wait to see the scorecard to make a move.
Oh man, now both fighters going to be getting to the feet going to get into some flat feet here pretty quickly. I mean, BoxerTrix already there, 30 seconds in to round number 9. But on the side of Ghetto IP, you can see still throwing the shots where needed, finding the openings, having no problems working the head, working the body, taking whatever it is that BoxerTrix gives them.
Taking everything and giving nothing, making sure that they can have that back step timed absolutely perfectly to dodge away from any sort of counterattack, any sort of reach advantage. And this is the problem. The block is in the danger zone. Boxertrix drops the gloves for just a little bit, but everything is going yellow and red. Not what you want to see late in the ninth.
Yeah, the only problem is for both of these fighters, even when those openings occur, you've got to worry about overextending because of the stamina situation for both of you, because you don't know exactly where the other is at, and one good, solid punch could get you that daze, which can open things up for a knockdown. And especially when you're Ghetto IP, when you got the lead, you just need to continue with your pedal to the metal, but enough to be able to be disciplined.
Stay disciplined, keep the pedal though down into the floor, and see if you can get a big knockdown here. Could realistically end the fight, not necessarily on a knockout, but could be the points that you need. 30 seconds left until we get that longer break, the final one of the night, and the final look at the scorecard before a possible round 12 ending. Keeping the distance right now is Ghetto, making sure to work off that flat-footedness of their opponent and putting in a couple extra shots towards the noggin before the bell dings.
There it is. The bell's going to ding, and this is our last longer break between our rounds after round number 9 here. Last opportunity to really kind of catch a little bit of a break and figure out exactly what you want to do for these final 3. And especially if your Boxertrix being down by 4 basically puts you in the situation where you need to win all 3 rounds.
You got to win all 3 rounds, but it's not a crazy big lead. You won that last round. You're only down 4. A couple of big knockdowns really could be the decider. And obviously for Ghetto, it's just playing forward, being able to play this defense as you are now flat-footed as well. And on the offense, Boxertrix wants to push him forward, but is taking shots to the body left and right, trying to slip out of the pocket, the body, the head, everything in trouble as Boxertrix box out.
Right now, it's Ghetto IP playing patient, slow and steady, wins the race. You're already in the lead here. You do not need to overextend, but that doesn't stop them from sitting smack dab in the middle of this ring, waiting for Boxertrix to get anywhere near, and then throws up the hands, waits for the first move to be made, and then tries to counter with their own punches. And you mentioned those red bars. We're still seeing them over on the side of Boxertrix, especially the body getting worked. And I mean, for Ghetto IP, they just seem to have all the answers.
The answers have been there for the entirety of the fight. Even though it has been close, it has been this championship matchup, has felt the pressure on Boxertrix from the beginning. And as much we have said is you don't really have to, or get to rely rather, on that round 3 scorecard of a lead. It's something that builds a hole, builds tension on your opponent, and the head damage building here in this round as Ghetto keeps slipping it through the gloves.
Kind of surprised we haven't seen Boxertrix start going for more power shots. I mean, at this point, what are you conserving stamina for? You are down in points, and you are about to have only 2 rounds left. You've got to start swinging for the fences here, because just 1 round or 1 point difference rounds aren't going to be enough.
Definitely not. You're going to need a knockdown probably for sure in these last 2 rounds if you want to even get things back to equal. I mean, maybe did enough damage in that last round, but it really did feel like for Ghetto, they were in control. 6 minutes left here in our EU Championship co-main event to end off the night. And you're seeing it for Boxertrix trying to put in the combos, but just doesn't have any follow-up, has to back up every time.
And having to back up every single time. And now at this point, what do? I mean, you've got to find some way to turn things around. You've got to find some way to, for the mouse and keyboard games, we call it the hold W game. I guess it's just hold forward since you're on the controller for this, but you've got to find some way to just continue chasing things down. And at this point, with 2 rounds left, it's just got to be all hands on deck. Throw whatever you can throw at the wall and see what sticks.
See what can work. See if you can finalize at least something. And for Ghetto to defend the title would be massive. You got to work in these last 2 rounds. Do not give anything for free. Do not even risk the chance that you could get that flash KO going your way. Not something you would want to end your night off with. And Boxer Tricks is working their way forward. They don't care about the damage. This is what I want to see. Put the gas pedal on. Do some damage and some shots to the noggin.
And it isn't causing Ghetto IP to back down low either. They know that they can sit on in here and just keep on moving forward. 35 seconds here left in round 11. And for Boxer Tricks, you gotta find some way to get the knockdown, because a knockdown here will at least make it so where you don't necessarily need a knockout in round number 12. But Ghetto IP has done such a great job of working the scorecard, now also working the face with a couple of combos here as well, and Ghetto IP just might have taken this round.
Possibly did, and possibly taking that last round. It could be all but done already. Well, I get to see the replay of that late round flurry just flying through. You talked about the damage to the head. It was there. And Boxer Tricks, unfortunately, down to only 30%, but it is matching Ghetto IP's stamina. Has preserved a little bit here in these late rounds, but at this moment, I don't think they actually reserve themselves on the scoreboard. So it feels like it's got to be a KO or nothing from Boxer Tricks.
Yeah, Boxer Tricks feels like it has to be a knockout or nothing. And of course, you do have some power behind those punches, but not when you don't have much stamina. But you got to throw some haymakers here. That's all you got. But right now for Ghetto IP, I was going to say the last thing you want to do is find yourself in a corner where it's easier to get landed with some power punches. But Ghetto IP does a great job, turns the ring back around, and finds themselves right back in the middle of the square.
I mean, even in the dangerous scenarios, we've said it, just consistency, able to worm their way out of danger, get some shots towards the head. And now for Boxer Tricks, down to almost about half of this round left. Ghetto has controlled for pretty much the entire fight, led or tied throughout it. They're swinging, going for hooks, looking for a big knockdown here at the end with 1:30 left to go in our final fight, final round of the night.
Both fighters still standing in the middle of the ring, trying to land whatever blows they can hit. And I think the big thing I love about that is the fact that Ghetto IP hasn't started playing conservative, hasn't tried to rat away once they had the lead and just try and coast to the end. They're still trying to land their shots and take every single round that they can.
Every single round comes to be very important in these championship matches, and Ghetto IP took it seriously from the get-go. Now it is the final finish line. You can see it right in front of you. The sprint has to be on in, and for Boxer Tricks, I don't think has done enough. 10 more seconds. Ghetto IP, the defending champion, might have just defended again. Boxer Tricks will go into the days one last time. It won't be a knockdown, but it will be the victory, the defend, unanimous decision for Ghetto IP.
And still your EU champion, Ghetto IP. And I mean, honestly, what better fitting to an end for our first show of the Rumble here. And yeah, this time around, the second judge scoring it the same way that all the other ones did. I guess found their glasses there after that fourth match. But what a better fitting of an end here. We had 2 title fights, Llama. In the first one, we crown ourselves a new champion. But to end things off, it's Ghetto IP, who we talked about at the top of this fight. I mean, just one of the best to do it. Proves exactly why they have that prestige.
Having the prestige, holding on to the title, and you can see, even though it was a 5-point separation, you saw how close it was. Both fighters attempting 750 and 800 shots respectively, both around that 50% marker. It was just those big shots, the one big knockdown. I know they went 1-for-1, but the eventual end rounds where Ghetto had the stamina lead, played it really well and conservative.
Played it exactly how things needed to be done, and was able to walk away still with the belt that they walked into the square with. So, man, big shout out to Boxer Tricks, though, for still being able to put on the show. But, man, oh, man, I mean, Ghetto IP, just a great champion, putting on another phenomenal fight.
A great fight, a great performance, and again, it just goes to show you the level of play has just been keeping on improving and improving and improving. From when we saw these guys at the start, both of them have improved even more and added more skills, more combos towards their repertoire, and a really, really interesting fight between them that, again, I'm just dying. I hope we get to see it again.
It definitely feels like this is one of those fights that, even though Boxer Tricks isn't necessarily guaranteed a rematch, I know that Boxer Tricks has the skills to be able to earn themselves a rematch, whatever that is going to look like there. Whereas, of course, that first championship matchup, there is a rematch clause indeed there, right? But Llama, we had 4 matches that went the distance, and then we had one that was a knockout in the 7th. You and I, we still got to talk about a fight of the night. We talked about it in the green room in the break there, heading into that last match. Do you think that last fight that we just saw was enough to overtake your and I's decision for that fight of the night?
I don't think it is, unfortunately. I think it was a really, really good chess match. I think it was, again, all of the 5 fights tonight were very, very close in my rankings for fight of the night because we had all different kinds of flavor, right? We started out the day with a big fireworks show, knockdown after knockdown. We kind of got the gradual decrease in pace, and then those final 2 matches especially were super big chess matches. But I'm a big fan of that bacon and grits matchup, and I don't think any other fight beat it.
No, I think especially, we even talked about it during the bacon and grits and Badman fight, right? We've seen fights before where maybe a fighter is able to recover from like A days, right? But both fighters recovering, both fighters getting knockdowns. That thing truly went back and forth, was a tug of war. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I got to encourage the chat support, man. Chat was absolutely rocking during that fight. And I mean, the glazing for Bacon didn't stop until like the middle of the 4th fight. I mean, chat really seemed to enjoy that fight as well. So I think that's got to be my fight of the night.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely deserved that fight of the night. And you know what? It's really interesting to see. I know we've said it multiple times today, but to get to see all of kind of the new talent to us. I know they've been working in the background, they've been sparring, they've been improving in the Discord, but to see not only 2 amazing championship fights, but 6 fighters that could realistically go on to fight for championships later down the line.
I think we've seen a lot of talent here this evening. And also, we've seen a whole bunch of people showing up and showing out in chat, man. This was our first time that we are officially an affiliate. We had a bunch of emotes getting spammed in chat. We loved the hype. I think, Llama, you had mentioned we're going to have the Wall of Fame where we talk about all of our supporters and everything. We gave them a shout out through the show, but since it's our first time through, I want to give them one last shout out, man. So first off, as far as people who just subbed as far as on their own, Northern Small, Gangstology, Cash, Stinky, Bromar, Daisy Boo, J Sal, Bacon and Grits, and then big shout out to our gifters as well. We had Cash, Northern Smog, and Gangstology all gifting out some big subarinos. Big shout out to Hugs Dealer for showing out some biddies as well, man. Of course, there's a lot of work that gets done in the background as well. Look, honestly, Llama, we talk about it, well, everywhere we cast, because we cast a lot of different titles, but we have the easy job. We really do. We get to get excited about esports. We show up, we get to cast these fights, but I want to make sure that we're giving a big shout out to our producer in the back, Ganta, as well as, of course, Cash doing a lot of the work on the, not only on game day, but leading up to the fight day, putting on all the work to make sure things go as smooth as possible. So make sure every time you see them in the background, you give them a big old virtual high five. But Llama, that's 5 fights done and dusted. Our first one here, first event of the Rumble out of the way. What's your final thoughts before we get up on out of here, man?
Awesome. Bacon, explosions, firework, lightning, Q, llama. Awesome.
Awesome.
That's my thoughts.
I love it, man. Of course, feel free to follow your boy as well as Llama over on socials, Twitch, YouTube, you name it, at the handles that are both below us. Again, big shout out to Wiser Productions that is helping us put together things over here at ECS. If you haven't gotten the Discord, jump in there, check out the website as well. We'll be back here in a few weeks. We're going to try and see if we can squeeze in one more event before I can become daddy number 2. Well, that sounds really weird. Daddy for a second time. I got another little man on the way there in the middle of September. So try and see if we can squeeze in one more of these things in before that. But we appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the follow button below if you haven't done so. If you're watching the VOD back over on YouTube and you've made it this far, hit the subscribe button down below. Until we catch y'all back over here for the next one, man. Don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all? That's Llama. I'm Q for the rest of the crew from the front to the back. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Peace.